Chapter 2966. After Su Yu said this, everyone looked at Qi Ning. She turned her head and looked at everyone. She suddenly felt that it was time for this secret to be made public. Her brother had always said that he would keep it a secret and that he couldn't even tell his sister-in-law. However, in the current situation, her sister-in-law was dead and her brother's fate was unknown. There was no point in keeping it a secret. Ning Ning, hurry up and tell us. We're worried sick. Only if you tell us can we get the doctor to treat the illness and save Qin Chu. Tang Chuan looked at Qin Ning anxiously. My brother, actually, during the 4 years he was in the States, he was very, very bad. He missed my sister-in-law so much that he got a disease, Qin Ning said slowly. What disease? Su Yu stood up. He felt that this was a serious matter. This disease is very rare. I'm not a medical student, so I don't know much about it. I only know that it's called paranoia. The scientific name is paranoid personality disorder. Finally, Qin Ning revealed her brother's secret to the public. Paranoid personality disorder. What the hell is that? Tang Chuan didn't understand at all. Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran were also confused. Su Yu reacted quickly. He took out his phone, searched the database, and immediately found the description of this disease. Perhaps he wanted to help everyone, so he took out his phone and read in a low voice, Paranoid personality disorder is a type of personality disorder. The number of people with this type of disorder is unknown. People with this type of disorder rarely seek help from doctors. If their spouse or friends advise them to seek treatment, most of them will deny that they have this disease. This makes it difficult for the doctors who treat them to distinguish the truth. Their symptoms are usually caused by a sudden event or stimulation. Then, they often fall into an inextricable state of pain. According to the United Nations Medical Association, people with paranoid personality disorder account for 5.8% of the world's population. Because people with this type of disorder rarely have self-awareness and seriously deny their condition, the actual number may be even higher. Once they get this disease, it's very difficult to cure because when they realize that they have the disease, it's very difficult for them to control and change it. When they seek help from the outside world, it's difficult for others to guide them for too long. Then, they'll fall back into the previous pain and confusion. This is a painful cycle of death. Most of the patients are men, and there's no known cure yet. After Su Yu finished speaking, everyone's hearts turned cold. Fuck, does this mean that even Brother Qin Chu doesn't know that he has this disease? Because this kind of patient will deny that he is sick. Tang Chuan asked. Qin Ning immediately retorted, of course not. My brother studied medicine and is one of the rare genius doctors with high IQ and EQ. My brother is also one of the rare few who knows about his condition and has been actively cooperating with the treatment. Later, when he saw that the treatment wasn't effective, he prescribed his own medicine. But I know that medicine is bad for his body, but if he doesn't take it, his mind and heart will be tortured. I don't know what to do. Does Hua Mian know about this disease? Su Yu asked. Of course not, my brother forbade her from talking about it. My uncle and the others don't know, only me and big brother Rick know. My brother always told me not to let Hua Mian know because she'd be so sad. After all, he got this disease because he missed her so much. Qin Ning lowered her head. In other words, when Qin Chu and Hua Min were separated in the States for 4 years, he missed Hua Min all the time and got this disease, right? Su Yu asked again. Chapter 2967. Yeah, I remember back then, Qin Chu's leg was injured from the plane crash, so he wasn't in a good mood. When he was in the nursing home, he would only smile when he saw Mian's photo. Because he missed her so much, he suppressed himself and didn't dare to go back to see her. Back then, Chin Chu's leg was seriously injured and he was afraid that he would drag Mian down with him. Plus, he did his own things in secret and got in touch with some mysterious people. I'm not sure about this, but I think Chin Chu had his reasons for doing things, so I didn't ask. Qin Ning carefully recalled the time when Chin Chu was in the States recovering from his injury. What are the symptoms of his illness? For example, does he have any abnormal behavior? Is it a mental illness? Zhu Lingling asked curiously. No, he's the same as before. The only serious symptom is insomnia. The most severe insomnia I remember was that he didn't sleep for 5 days and 5 nights. Oh my God, how is that possible? Zhu Lingling covered her mouth in shock. Gao Ran also widened his eyes in disbelief. Chin Chu had never told him about the things that happened in the States. 5 days and 5 nights. How did that feel? Oh my God, was he sleepy? Tang Chuan looked up at the sky and sighed, his face full of sadness and helplessness. Qin Ning recalled the pain that her brother had gone through and said with tears in her eyes, yes, it wasn't easy for my brother. Maybe it's because of his personality. He liked to shoulder everything by himself and would do anything for my sister-in-law. He didn't need to say much, he just needed to act. During that time, my brother was very serious. His eyes were often purple and his pupils were red. He had to sleep. At that time, we contacted all the famous doctors in the United States, from psychiatrists, psychologists, and even stubborn sleep therapists. Unfortunately, it was to no avail. At that time, a doctor said that if my brother's condition continued, he would definitely die because his heart wouldn't be able to handle staying up all night. It was very likely that he would suffer from heart failure and myocardial infarction. My brother wanted to come back alive to see my sister-in-law, so he started making his own medicine. Making his own medicine. He's really good. Su Yu only had respect for Chin Chu at that moment. This man, who didn't say much and had a proud look on his face, was a real man. He had never been like a woman, dawdling about the pain he had suffered in the past. After he came back, he gave Huamin a warm hug and didn't mention anything about the past 4 years. He even talked about his most serious leg injury, which had undergone several surgeries, as if it was nothing. Su Yu admired a man like him. Unyielding and arrogant to the extreme. Making medicine isn't easy. In the beginning, my brother used common sense and tried his own medicine. He often got poisoned. Just now, the doctor said that his liver was damaged. I think that was the root of the disease. Later, he finally found a medicine that could cure his disease, but it couldn't cure it completely. He could only suppress it on the surface, saying that it suppressed the excitement in his cerebral cortex. Basically, it relieves sleep. Since then, my brother got better little by little. But this medicine hasn't stopped for the past few years, and he's still taking it. It's just that my sister-in-law doesn't know about it. But if he takes the medicine, will it affect Huamin's baby? Su Yu suddenly thought of a very serious problem. Chapter 2968. I don't think so. When my brother tested the medicine, he focused on our extensive knowledge of Chinese medicine. He was worried that it might affect our future pregnancy. Plus, after my sister-in-law got pregnant with her second child, my brother looked very happy, so there shouldn't be any problems. I thought that their family of 4 would be happy with the addition of another baby, but who knew? At this point, Qin Ning covered her mouth and began to cry again. To be honest, she couldn't accept the fact that Huamin was dead. After hearing Qin Ning's words and learning about Chin Chu's secret, everyone's heart sank. The current situation was that Huamin was dead, and Chin Chu was still unconscious. A family that had been perfectly fine was torn apart just like that. the innocent elderly and children didn't know what happened, and they were still waiting for Qin Chu and Huamin to return. Lord Su, what should we do now? Tang Chuan didn't know what to do and panicked. I'll think of a way. I'll contact the specialists in Jing City and see if there's any other way. We can't let Qin Chu stay unconscious like this. If he wakes up, he'll have a better chance of finding Mian, Siyu said. Tang Chuan nodded, walked over, and put his arm around Qin Ning's shoulder. Ning Ning, don't worry. Lord Su has a lot of connections. He even managed to invite the special military doctor for the leaders of Jing City. Qin Chu will be fine. Qin Ning nodded with tears in her eyes and leaned on Tang Chuan's shoulder. Then you guys should go back first. There's no point in staying here. You guys should go home. There are people here 24/7, Siyu said as he looked at Tang Chuan, Qin Ning, Gao Ran, and Zhu Lingling. Okay. Let us know if you have any news. I'll go back and follow up on the search for Huamin, Gao Ran said. Okay. After they all left, Siyu was about to go in and check on Qin Chu when his phone suddenly rang. Hello, President Su. I'm President Qin's assistant, Xiao Yang. Oh, go ahead. It's like this. I can't contact our President Qin. Do you have any news about him? Is there something urgent at the company? If so, you can tell me and I'll help him deal with it. Suyu said bluntly. That's not it. It's just that President Qin told me to contact you if I can't find him. What else did he say? He also said that if he couldn't get in touch with you, he wanted me to pass a message to you. So, I want to confirm if something happened to President Qin. Yang wasn't stupid. When he heard President Qin's order, he knew that what he was going to do this time was very dangerous. Something did happen to Qin Chu. Suyu knew that Yang was a trustworthy person, so he didn't try to hide it. I knew it. Yang's heart sank. What message did he ask you to pass to me? Go ahead. Through the glass of the ICU, Suyu looked at the man wearing an oxygen mask. He was no longer as beautiful as he used to be, nor was he dazzling. It was just lying there quietly, falling into a deep sleep. They were rivals in love. After Qin Chu died, he should have had a better chance of getting Huamin, but now, seeing him like this, Siyu felt very sad. It was as if his best friend had encountered a life-or-death situation. President Qin told me that this time, he's going to do something dangerous. If he doesn't come back, then, he asked me to find you immediately and tell you. When little Yang said this, he choked up and was about to cry. Suyu didn't interrupt and just listened quietly. It seemed to be Qin Chu's last words. Chapter 2969. Let me tell you, President Su, that President Hua, also known as Huamin, and their children are in your care. Assistant Yang struggled to say these words to Suyu over the phone. However, Suyu wasn't happy at all. Instead, he felt sad. Okay, I got it. After hanging up the phone, Suyu took a deep breath. This man was really meticulous. Before he left, he had already thought of the worst possible outcome. He must have thought that he would do everything he could to save Huamin. Even if it meant sacrificing his own life, he wouldn't hesitate. The worst possible outcome would be him dying and Huamin surviving. Then, he generously entrusted Huamin and the twins to Suyu. Suyu didn't know what Qin Chu was thinking. Was it because he was afraid that Huamin would be too tired to take care of the children, or that he would be too lonely for the rest of his life? Either way, this was a decision made by someone who loved Huamin deeply. Suyu felt terrible. He paced back and forth in the corridor of the hospital. He smoked more than 10 cigarettes. Finally, when he reached for the cigarettes, he realized that he had smoked all of them. he sighed slightly and gently pushed open the door to the intensive care unit. Chin Chu was lying there. The entire room was silent. The only sound that could be heard was the beeping of the monitors. Doctor He was already an outstanding doctor in the local hospital. If he said that this was a difficult situation, then it was true. So, Chin Chu's condition should be very troublesome. He didn't really understand the paranoid personality disorder that Chin Ning mentioned, but after reading up on it, he knew that it was a very complicated condition. At this time, Huamin fell off a cliff and no one knew if he was dead or alive. Chin Chu was in a coma and his life was hanging by a thread. Suyu had actually become the person in charge. Furthermore, it was Chin Chu who had personally instructed him to hand over the twins and Huamin to him. It had to be said that he had great trust in him. Two such powerful experts were now either dead or unconscious. Suyu's heart was also on the verge of collapse. If it were not for Wei Liao and Tang Chuan holding him down at that time, he would probably be at the bottom of the sea now. He quietly looked at Chin Chu for a while. Suyu said softly, "I've received the message you asked your assistant to pass to me, but what I want to say is, I refuse your request. I just want to say that you should take care of your wife and child yourself. How can you leave them to someone else? I'm not the kind of person who's willing to find trouble for myself. I won't help you take care of your wife and child. So, you're such a cold and arrogant person. You better wake up early and do your own things, okay?" Chin Chu's eyes were still tightly shut. He did not have any consciousness at all. "It's decided then. I won't help you. If you don't wake up, your wife and child will have to live on the streets begging for food." Suyu said this in a fit of pique to provoke Chin Chu. Then, he carefully closed the door and quietly left. Suyu really wanted to find a small bar where no one knew him and drink until he got drunk. He wanted to forget everything and not think about it anymore. He really wanted to wake up tomorrow morning and say good morning to Huamin on WeChat, Dr. Hua. However, he knew that all of this was impossible, although he still had hope in his heart that Huamin was still alive. Everyone knew that Huamin was already dead. His beloved Dr. Hua was no longer in this world. Suyu drove all the way to the old mansion of the Su family in a daze. When the twins saw Suyu come in, they immediately rushed out. "Handsome Su, you're back. Where's Mommy?" they asked at the same time. Upon hearing this, Suyu's heart felt as if it had been stabbed. Chapter 2970. Pudding, Little Bean. "Your mommy." Suyu stammered. "You haven't rescued her yet, have you?" Pudding's heart sank when she saw Suyu's expression. "Pudding, listen to me. It's a little complicated, but I believe your mommy will come back safe and sound." "Come back? Was she taken away by the big bad guy?" Pudding reacted quickly. Suyu really didn't know what to say, because if he said something wrong, the kids would definitely be suspicious. But he couldn't just say that their mommy was dead. That would be too cruel to the two kids. "Handsome Su, where's my daddy?" Little Bean tugged at Suyu's sleeve and asked with a confused look. Suyu's nose twitched, and he almost cried. He tried his best to control himself and replied, "Your daddy is very worried. He won't give up until he finds your mommy, so he's still busy outside." "Oh, I see." The two kids seemed disappointed. "Were you too good today?" Suyu patted their heads and asked dotingly. "Of course, we were very obedient to Grandma Su," Little Bean pouted and replied. You're back. Just in time. Come and eat." Lady Su walked out of the kitchen. "What did you make, Mom?" Suyu tried to appear happier, not wanting the kids to see through his thoughts. "I made your favorite food, steamed pork, lotus root slices, and sweet and sour fish. Oh, and your favorite, tea-flavored lamb chops. Lady Sue smiled gently. Wow, that's great. Then I'll eat more today. Suyu forced himself to smile. Then, he held the two kids' hands and walked to the dining table. At that time, he thought that if Huamin really died, Chin Chu wouldn't wake up. Then, he was indeed the one who could take care of the twins and was the closest person to them. After Suyu walked the kids to the dining room, his phone rang. He looked at the number, lowered his voice, and said a few words. Then, he mysteriously walked to the balcony. Little Bean and Pudding sat on the chairs without saying a word. Little Bean looked at her sister and then looked at Suyu with a complicated expression. Sis, what are you thinking about? Do you think we can trust handsome Sue's words? Pudding asked. Of course, what else could it be? Would he lie to us? Little Bean didn't think too much about it. I have a feeling that something big has happened. Handsome Sue is acting weird today. Pudding murmured. How can you tell? I think Handsome Sue is the same as usual, Little Bean retorted. Then you must not have noticed his smile. That kind of smile seemed to be forced out with great effort and not from the bottom of his heart, Pudding explained. Oh, you're overthinking it. Mommy isn't back yet. Handsome Sue likes Mommy so much, it's natural for him to be worried. No, it's not that simple. I keep feeling that he's hiding something from us. Why don't we ask him later? There's no need to worry about guessing here and there. Are you stupid? If he's hiding something from us, do you think he'll tell us? Then what should we do? Little Bean looked innocent. No, I have to go out and make a call. Then, Pudding slipped down from the chair and ran out with her phone. Is my sister being too paranoid? Little Bean murmured to herself. When Suyu came back from the phone call, he only saw Little Bean and was puzzled. Where's Pudding? She went to make a call. Call? Who did she call? Suyu was even more curious. I don't know. But by the way, Handsome Sue, are you hiding something from us? Little Bean pouted and asked. Chapter 2971. Why do you ask? Suyu asked guiltily. Because my sister said you were acting weird today. Did I? Suyu felt even more guilty. Who knows? My reaction wasn't as fast as hers. My sister is sensitive and might be overthinking. But don't hide anything from us, or I won't forgive you. Suyu looked at Little Bean with a complicated expression and didn't answer. Instead, he picked up a glass of juice and handed it to Little Bean. Drink more juice to replenish your vitamin C. Then, the maids of the Sue family began to serve the dishes, but Pudding still hadn't returned. Why isn't the little girl back yet? I'll go find her. Suyu stood up and walked out of the dining room. He walked around and finally found Pudding on the balcony at the end of the corridor on the second floor. She stood there, her small figure. For some reason, when he thought of Huamin's death and the child's loss of her mother, Suyu felt terrible. Pudding, it's time to eat. Handsome Sue, come here. I have something to ask you. Suyu glanced at her and slowly walked over. Handsome Sue, tell me, what happened? Nothing happened. It's just a little difficult to rescue your mother, but it's all temporary. Suyu continued to make up white lies. You're still lying to me. Pudding was furious. Pudding, I've already called Uncle Gao Ran, Lingling, my aunt, and Uncle Tang Chuan. Suyu's heart chilled. Pudding, the truth is, you've never lied to me. Mommy said that people can't lie. If you tell one lie, you have to use 100 other lies to cover it up. Over time, you'll become a liar and lose your reputation. So, handsome Sue, don't lie to me. Even the cruelest truth is easier to accept than a white lie. So you didn't say anything, something happened to her, right? Pudding asked. Pudding, I'm sorry. We tried our best, but we couldn't save her. Tell me, what happened? I want to hear the whole story. Pudding looked at Suyu seriously. This gave Suyu a lot of mental pressure. He didn't look like a 3-year-old child at all. His mature appearance made Suyu not dare to underestimate him. In the end, Suyu sighed slightly, walked over, and stood beside Pudding. He told her about how Hwamin had fallen into the sea. After hearing this, she was silent. After a while, she asked again, "What about Daddy?" "Your daddy is in the hospital right now. He might have suffered too much shock and is still unconscious," Suyu said slowly. Pudding's eyes dimmed bit by bit. She didn't cry like the other kids and didn't make a fuss. She quietly turned around and looked into the distance from the balcony. "Pudding." Suyu reached out and patted her on the shoulder. "Handsome Sue, are we going to lose Little Bean and me this time? Daddy loves Mommy so much. He wouldn't live alone in this world. Did they abandon me and Little Bean?" Pudding asked sadly. No. Your mommy loves you very much. She doesn't want to." "Listen, Pudding, we can't confirm that your mommy is dead yet. Maybe she's still alive. I've already sent a rescue team to search for her. Your daddy is only unconscious for a while. He'll wake up, right?" Something seemed to flash in Pudding's eyes, but it didn't fall. After pausing for a while, she suddenly turned her head and said to Suyu, "Okay." Chapter 2972. "Don't tell Little Bean," she said. Suyu didn't speak, but his heart ached even more as if it was being torn apart. "Handsome Sue, don't tell my sister. She'll be so sad." "I know. Okay. I'm going to eat." Then, before Suyu could say anything, Pudding's little figure had already walked downstairs. At this moment, Suyu's cell phone rang. "Lord Sue." It was Tang Chuan's voice. "What's up?" I want to tell you something. Don't get too excited. Can you promise me that you'll be able to hold on?" Tang Chuan said mysteriously. "Cut the crap. Tell me." Suyu had lost his patience. "I just got the news that the rescue team found a female corpse in that area of the sea, but what?" Suyu felt like he was about to suffocate and stop breathing. Female corpse. The word female corpse was the cruelest torture for Suyu. He had never imagined that one day, such a horrible word would be used to describe Hwamin. However, Tang Chuan liked to say things halfway, which almost drove Suyu crazy. But the corpse was scratched by the rocks and corals at the bottom of the sea, so we can't see what it looks like. So, they asked me to tell you to identify it and see if it's Hwamin's corpse. The more Tang Chuan spoke, the less confident he became. He was afraid that Suyu would go crazy. "Okay." After a long while, Suyu finally squeezed out a word. "Then I'll wait for you over there. See you in a bit." Then, Tang Chuan was about to hang up. However, Suyu said, "Wait. I have something to ask you." "Young Master Tang, you can't keep your mouth shut. I just told you one sentence and you screwed up." "What do you mean?" Tang Chuan looked confused. "Why did you tell Pudding about this? She's just a kid. How can she take such a blow?" Suyu was furious. "Fuck. Who told Pudding? You're slandering me again." Tang Chuan wasn't happy. "Didn't you say it?" "I didn't say that." "What about Qin Ning?" Ning Ning has always been with me. She didn't say anything. Tang Chuan was confused. Suyu didn't say anything. What? Does Pudding know? Tang Chuan asked again. I'll tell you later. After hanging up the phone, Suyu finally understood. Maybe Pudding didn't call Gao Ran or Qin Ning at all, she just saw that Suyu was in a bad mood. Pudding TSS was pretended to call Prince Huamian T. Suyu foolishly told her everything. To confirm his thoughts, Suyu called Gao Ran's cell phone. The result was the same. Gao Ran said that he didn't receive Pudding's call. Pudding is really smart. Suyu sighed slightly. However, she didn't have much of a reaction and was still in the mood to eat downstairs. She probably didn't believe that Huamian was dead, just like him. That was why she didn't break down and cry. When Suyu came downstairs, the twins were sitting there quietly, eating. Pudding even took the initiative to put food in her sister's bowl. It was as if she had grown up overnight. She was more sensible and well-behaved. Mom, I'm going out. Going out again. You haven't eaten yet. Lady Sue was reluctant to leave her son. I'm not eating. There's something urgent at the company. I have to deal with it. You eat with the kids and let them go to bed early. Handsome Sue. Pudding turned to look at Suyu. Yeah. Will you stay here tonight? Pudding looked at Suyu longingly. Chapter 2973. Yes, I will. Suyu knew that the child was insecure at this moment. Her parents were in trouble one after another, and she was afraid that Suyu would never come back. Therefore, she asked Suyu if he would come back. Suyu rarely stayed at home. However, he still agreed without thinking. Okay, we'll wait for you. Pudding looked at Suyu with relief. You're the best. He wouldn't even let me, his mother, ask him to stay. Lady Sue looked at Pudding with a smile. Of course. My sister is with handsome Sue. She can easily show off her face, Pudding bragged. Don't be naughty. Don't run around. After dinner, watch TV and go to bed. Do you hear me? Suyu instructed. I hear you. Come back early. If I'm not asleep by then, remember to bring me pineapple buns for supper, Pudding said with a smile. Okay, little foodie. It seemed that Pudding's decision was right. He really couldn't let Pudding know about this. The two children had completely different personalities. If Pudding knew, she probably wouldn't be able to take it. She wouldn't be as calm as Pudding. After Suyu left, Pudding ate a little and left the table. Pudding, you didn't eat much. What's wrong? You don't have an appetite? Lady Sue asked. Yeah, I don't feel like eating. Is the food not to your liking? No, it's my own fault. Maybe I'm not hungry recently. Grandma Sue, take your time. I'm going upstairs to rest. Sis, your favorite financial show is coming up soon. Pudding looked at her watch and reminded her sister. No, I'm a little sleepy. I'm going to sleep. Okay. Pudding didn't know what was wrong with her sister, so she didn't dare to ask. After Pudding went upstairs, Lady Sue asked Pudding worriedly. What's wrong with Pudding? Did you two fight? No, I haven't provoked her for 2 days. Pudding looked wronged. Then why do I feel like Pudding is in low spirits? Don't worry about her. My sister is just like that. Ha, sentimental. She's like my dad. She likes to keep everything to herself. Maybe she's in a cold war with Wei Yunchu. Who knows? Little Bean was a completely ignorant person, so she always thought that her parents were fine and that she was still living in a happy childhood. A bedroom on the second floor because the twins were staying over, Lady Su specially ordered a new 4-piece bedsheet set from luxurious home textiles. They were all pink in color, and there were many dolls and candies in the room. It was very beautiful, just like a princess room. It was fate that brought them together. Huamian had lived in this house when she was nurturing her baby. The Su family had always kept the room and never let anyone in. This was because Su Yu would occasionally go upstairs to look at these things and reminisce about the time when Huamin had lived in the Su family for a year. Now that the 2 children had come to stay, it just so happened that they were staying here. After Pudding went upstairs, she slowly walked to the head of the bed. She sat on the big pink bed in a daze. Then, she silently took out her phone. She opened the photo album and found a family photo. It was not long ago. One day, Mommy said that the tulips in the yard of South Hill Manor had bloomed and were very beautiful. So, she pulled her cold daddy and the 2 sisters together. They took many photos in the backyard. The most beautiful of them all was this family photo. Chin Chu and Huamin squatted on the ground. Little Bean leaned in Chin Chu's arms, her chubby little hands wrapped around Chin Chu's neck. Pudding and Mommy's faces were very close. The family of 4 had smiles on their faces from the bottom of their hearts. Mommy. Daddy. You'll come back, right? Pudding asked in a tender voice. On the other side, Su Yu drove his black Lamborghini to the rescue team's site at lightning speed. I'm here to identify the body, Su Yu said coldly. Young Master Su, this way please. A team member took the initiative to lead Su Yu to a female body covered with a white cloth. Chapter 2974. To be honest, Su Yu's heart was trembling as he walked towards the corpse. He was really scared that the corpse was Huamin. However, he really wanted to take a look. As long as he could deny that it wasn't Huamin, it would prove that Huamin was still alive. At this moment, Su Yu's heart was filled with drama. It was like a 100-episode harem drama. It was only a few steps away, but Su Yu felt like a century had passed in his heart. Lord Su. Tang Chuan was standing beside the corpse. He saw Su Yu from afar and greeted him. Su Yu nodded and supported himself as he walked over. I've seen the corpse. I really can't tell anything because the face is disfigured. Take a look. Tang Chuan reached out his hand to lift the white cloth on the corpse. Su Yu immediately stopped him. Wait, don't lift it yet. What? I can't take it. Tang Chuan spoke the truth. Su Yu glared at him. Does Qin Ning know that you're here to identify the corpse? Of course not. She's been crying all day. If she knew that we found the corpse, she'd cry herself to death. Yeah, let's not tell them about this. I don't think it's Huamin, Su Yu comforted himself. But what if it's her? Tang Chuan didn't know what was good for him and asked. Fuck off. Shut your jinx. I'm not jinxing you, Lord Su. It's true that Huamin's sister-in-law died. It's true that she jumped in front of us. We have to be mentally prepared at all times. I know you can't accept this fact. To be honest, I can't accept it either. After all, we were eating and drinking together a few days ago. Now that she's dead, I can't accept it either. But sometimes, fate is cruel. It won't stop just because you can't accept it. Tang Chuan's attitude towards this matter was very rational and objective. Su Yu knew that he was a sentimental person. He said this not because he was cold or because he didn't have a deep relationship with Huamin. It was because this group of people had gone crazy. They had to leave some rational people behind to deal with the aftermath. I know. I understand. Su Yu lowered his head. He was very depressed. Young Master Su, we can identify it now. Can you see if this body is the person you're looking for? The captain of the rescue team walked over and said respectfully to Suyu. Okay. Suyu sighed. Then, he reached out his trembling hand and lifted the white cloth covering the body. For a moment, his heart almost stopped. When he was in the army, he was never afraid of military exercises and real bullets. But at this moment, he was terrified. He was really afraid. He was really afraid that this person was Huamin. If that was the case, even his last hope would be destroyed. The moment the white cloth was lifted, Suyu and Tang Chuan both looked over. The body was indeed unrecognizable. Perhaps it was because it had been soaked in seawater for a long time. Therefore, the body was a little bloated. There were no decorations on the hands or the neck. Suyu remembered that when Huamin was in the accident, he didn't have anything on him. It was said that the only Bulgari necklace on his neck was also taken off and thrown away by Hua Xiqin. So at first glance, it really did match. I can't recognize it. There are no marks on it. Should we do a DNA test? How should we do it? Should we get Jixin or Mian's mother? Tang Chuan asked. No, when I go back, I'll just get a strand of Pudding's hair. Right, why didn't I think of that? Because you're stupid, Suyu scolded. Tang Chuan continued, Lord Su, I don't think this body is Mian's sister-in-law. What do you think? Chapter 2975. I can't say for sure, but it doesn't feel like her. Suyu examined the body carefully. The face was disfigured, and the length of the hair was about the same as Huamin's. However, it had been soaked in the seawater, so it was impossible to tell. The most important thing was the clothes. The clothes should have been easy to tell, because when Huamin fell, she was wearing a white wedding dress. However, when the female body was found, she was naked. Because she had been in the sea for so long, she had been scraped by the gravel and coral. Therefore, when the female body was found naked, Tang Chuan definitely couldn't accept it. If she really was Huamian, how could she let Suyu see her naked? How ridiculous would that be? Therefore, Tang Chuan ordered the rescue team to find a female staff member to change the body into a set of hospital clothes. Therefore, it was impossible to identify her from the clothes. The only thing they could do was a DNA comparison. As long as they could get Pudding or Little Bean's hair and compare it with Huamin's, it would be fine. After identifying the body, Suyu's heart was heavy. Do you want to go for a drink? Tang Chuan asked. No, I have to go back. The kids are still waiting for me. You're not really going to raise them in the future, are you? Tang Chuan suddenly said. Suyu's heart ached, but he didn't say anything. On the way back, Suyu received a call from Jixin. Huamin's mother kept saying that she was panicking and that she felt that her daughter had disappeared. Jixin could only call Gao Ran and ask. However, whether it was Gao Ran, Zhu Lingling, Wei Liao, or Jiang Xiaowei, none of them said a word. Everyone kept quiet about Huamin's whereabouts. In the end, when Jixin asked where the children were, Gao Ran said that they were at Suyu's house. Therefore, Jixin called Suyu again. It's hard to explain over the phone. Let's talk about it in person. Suyu decided to tell Jixin about this. After all, he was Huamin's younger brother. If something really happened to Huamin, then Qin Chu's company and Huamin's mother would need someone to take care of them. In a coffee shop near Chuanxi Road, Jixin arrived 5 minutes before Suyu did. When Suyu walked in, Jixin politely stood up and greeted him, Big Brother Suyu. Take a seat. Suyu waved his hand and asked Jixin to sit down. I ordered Americano for you. I heard that you don't like coffee with sugar. Who did you hear that from? Suyu was a little surprised. It seemed that very few people knew about this little hobby of his. My sister said so. Your sister? Suyu was slightly surprised. She said that, you don't like coffee with sugar. She also said that Americano tastes like Chinese medicine and is extremely bitter. I even joked and asked if there was something wrong with your taste buds. My sister protected you. She said that people who like Americano are all people who can endure hardships. Big brother Suyu, you're not the prodigal and rich second-generation heir who only knows how to eat, drink, play, and pick up girls. No one can compare to your time in the army. Because of this, my sister scolded me. Jishin smiled. So she said that about me. Suyu was slightly touched. Yes, although, you're not with my sister, she actually treats you as a very important friend and will protect you. She's such a protective person. The more Jishin said this, the more Suyu wanted to cry. He picked up the black and strong Americano and took a big gulp. A strong bitterness immediately spread out from the tip of his tongue. Big brother Suyu, where did my sister go? Why can't I reach her? She's not picking up her phone, and so is my brother-in-law. Jishin finally asked the main question. Chapter 2976. Something happened to your sister. What happened? Jishin immediately became nervous when he heard that something happened to his sister. It's hard to explain in a few sentences. I'll tell you slowly. Then, Suyu told Jishin everything that happened. Jishin's face was covered in tears after he heard it. Big brother Suyu, my sister, she's really dead, right? Jishin asked in a choked voice. We're not sure yet, we're still looking for her. How can she still be alive after falling from that place? You guys know that my sister is gone, right? Jishin's tears were messy. Not necessarily, maybe a miracle will happen. How can that be? Life isn't a movie. How can there be so many miracles? No wonder my mom always says that she's worried. It seems that mother and daughter are really connected. If my mom knows that something happened to my sister, how can she live on? Jishin didn't dare to think about the consequences of his mother knowing everything. Don't tell her for now. She's old and can't handle shocks. Suyu also told everyone not to tell Chin Chu and Huamin's parents. After all, they weren't in good health. Is Chin Chu still in the military hospital? Yeah. Suyu nodded. Did the doctor say when he'll wake up? Not yet. Then will he sleep forever? Jishin asked. Suyu couldn't answer. Yes, these were all unknowns, and he had tried his best. As for the specifics, we'll have to see what the specialists from Jing City say. I've already contacted them and will see him later, Suyu said. What about the company? What about the company? Damn it, I don't want to go to work. Life is a mess. Jishin lowered his head and sobbed. I'm here to talk to you about the company. Chin Chu isn't here, so I'll leave it to you. Little Yang and that assistant named Bella are both elites, and they can help you. You still have to run the company well. After all, it's your brother-in-law's hard work. You can't give it up so easily. What if he wakes up and sees the company in a mess? How would he feel? Brother-in-law will wake up, right? But without big sister, waking up might not be a good thing. It might be even more painful. Jishin knew Suyu better than Suyu thought. Suyu didn't know how to continue the conversation with this little fresh meat. Brother Suyu, my two nieces are at your house, right? Brother Gao Ran said that they are at your house. Yes, at our house. I'll leave it to you then. Take good care of them, I will. Suyu gave a very important promise. The truth was, whether or not Chin Chu said those words, he would take good care of the twins at a time like this. That's good, that's good. Jishin nodded vigorously with tears in his eyes. Then. Brother Suyu, I won't disturb you anymore. If brother-in-law wakes up, please call me immediately. Okay. Chapter 2977. Luckily, the car opposite them braked in time. He stepped on the brakes and stopped. Are you an idiot? Didn't you see the red light? Do you want to die? The driver stuck his head out and scolded Jishin. However, Jishin didn't care about anything at this moment. He didn't have the mood to care about this. Jishin didn't dare to go home, afraid that his mother would find out, so he went directly to Bella's place. He knocked on the door. When Bella opened the door, she saw Jishin with tears on his face. Oh my God, what happened? Jishin hugged Bella tightly and began to cry like a child. Bella had never seen such a scene before and was scared out of her wits. Jishin, don't cry. What happened? Tell me. Don't scare me. Bella no longer had the usual calmness on her face. Bella. My sister is dead. Jishin raised his head abruptly, looked at Bella, and said with difficulty. Ha! Bella was dumbfounded. My sister is dead, Jishin repeated. Jishin, don't joke around. It's scary. I have a weak heart. As an employee, Bella didn't know about Huomin's kidnapping, so she didn't know about the cliff. So, when Jishin said it, she was indeed dumbfounded. My sister was kidnapped by Huosichen, that big bad guy. Then, he dragged my sister and jumped off the cliff. The cliff was thousands of feet high. There was a fierce sea below. My sister was so weak, she must have died. Bella, what should I do? I can't lose her. We grew up together, and I never thought that she would leave me so soon. I used to tease her and say that I'll take care of her when she's old. Tears and snot dripped down Jishin's face. He didn't care about his image at all as he cried. Jishin, where did you get this news? Is it accurate? Bella tried to stay rational. Of course it's true. Big brother Suyu likes my sister so much, he wouldn't joke about something like this. So it was Suyu who told you. Bella's heart sank when she heard the news came from Suyu. Don't stand at the door, come in and talk. Bella pushed open the door and invited Jishin into the room. Do you have wine? I'm so sad. I want a drink. I don't think drinking will solve the problem. Jishin, what about Chin Chu? What did Chin Chu say about something so important? Bella asked. Brother-in-law is also unconscious. He's still in the military hospital. That's one disaster after another. Bella widened her eyes, unable to hide the deep sadness in her eyes. I really don't know what the future will be like without my sister. What will my mom and I do? We'll probably spend the rest of our lives missing her. And Pudding and Little Bean, they're not even 4 years old. What will they do without their mother? Yes, the child is the most pitiful. Where is the child now? Is there anyone taking care of it? Do you want to send it to my house? Bella asked. She's with big brother Suyu. I heard my brother-in-law sent her to him before the accident. President Chin is so wise and can think of everything. I really hope he can wake up soon. President Hua's body hasn't been found and confirmed dead yet, right? I think we should hold on to a glimmer of hope. What if she's fine and was saved by a fisherman just like in the TV series and simply lost her memory? Bella thought naively. Don't be silly. Bella, even an innocent person like me won't believe that, Jishin replied in a hoarse voice. Then, the two fell silent. In a war-torn country in the Middle East, boss. Urgent report. It better be urgent, or I'll throw you into the sea to feed the sharks, Lu Yan said in a huff. Your sister, any news about my sister? Lu Yan was a bit excited. Your sister is dead, the man lowered his head and said carefully, not daring to look at Lu Yan's eyes. Chapter 2978. Hearing this, Xiao Fei froze and immediately looked at Lu Yan. Then, he realized that her face had turned green and purple. The informant was also trembling with fear. What did you say? Lu Yan thought she didn't hear him clearly, so she gritted her teeth and asked again. Boss. This is news from China. Your sister fell off the cliff with Hua Xiqian at Yuewang Mountain and died. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Yan pointed a silver gun at his head. Bullshit. Do you think I won't shoot you? Lu Yan was furious. Yan. Don't be rash. Let's figure out what happened first. Don't vent your anger on them. Xiao Fei immediately stopped her. If you speak again, I'll shoot you too. Lu Yan glared at Xiao Fei with bloodshot eyes. Xiao Fei knew only the professor and Hua Min could make Lu Yan so angry. To Lu Yan, they were the only family she had left in this world. Shooting us won't help. What happened has happened. Why don't we figure out what happened first and see if there's a conspiracy? Xiao Fei said rationally. Boss, please spare my life. It's not my fault. I'm just a messenger. The man was scared to death. When Lu Yan's subordinates received the news, they were all terrified. No one dared to report it to their boss, but they couldn't hide such a big thing. Their boss might get even angrier. So, after much consideration, they decided to play rock paper scissors to decide the winner. This unlucky guy lost, so he had to risk his life to deliver the news. Fortunately, Xiao Fei was there to stop him. Otherwise, he would have been a corpse by now. Tell those good-for-nothings in China to call me. I want to know the whole story. After a moment of fury, Lu Yan ordered coldly. Okay, boss. I'll contact them right away. Lu Yan was no longer in the mood to fight. She quietly dropped her weapon on the ground. Her long hair was messed up by the wind. She looked into the distance in confusion and wanted to ask why people were born and why they lived. Was it to lose something? From the moment they were born, they had nothing. As they grew up, they had everything. After that, he watched as the people around him, his family, his friends, his lover, left him one by one. Arranging the fate of mankind should be the cruelest thing in God's hands, right? From the looks of it, living itself was actually a kind of pain. Lu Yan had no tears. She couldn't cry if the news of her sister's death was true. What else could she do? He didn't have the ability to come back from the dead. Regardless of whether they were sisters or brothers, they all had this life but not the next. Lu Yan felt a dull pain around her heart. It made it difficult for her to even breathe. Xiao Fei looked at Lu Yan's messy hair and disheveled appearance. His heart ached as he walked over and reached out his hand, wanting to brush away that strand of hair for her. Don't touch me, Lu Yan said. Hearing this, Xiao Fei's hand froze in midair. Please don't touch me. Let me be alone. When Lu Yan was hurt, she would isolate herself from the world and wrap herself up. No one could get close to her. Not even Xiao Fei, whom she liked. Seeing her like this, Xiao Fei's heart ached even more. At this moment, Lu Yan's watch beeped. She lowered her head and pressed it. Immediately, the person's image appeared in midair. Boss, we're sorry. Please punish us. How did my sister die? Lu Yan's voice was filled with deep sorrow. Chapter 2979. Young Madam, she. The person on the other end of the line seemed to be afraid of Lu Yan and stammered. Young Madam was kidnapped by Hua Xiqian and taken to Yuewang Mountain. Qin Chu, your brother-in-law, immediately went to rescue her. We followed them and planned to help them if necessary. But Hua Xiqian was so extreme that he jumped off the cliff with young Madam in his arms. Did he really jump? Lu Yan obviously didn't believe it. It's true. Many people saw it with their own eyes. Your brother-in-law was the closest to them. He should know better. Where is he? He's receiving treatment in the military hospital. He's unconscious. He's unconscious. What do you mean? Lu Yan's face fell. After young Madam fell off the cliff, Mr. Qin Chu vomited blood and fainted. Maybe he was too shocked. Standing behind Lu Yan, Xiao Fei's heart sank just by listening to the conversation, let alone Lu Yan's. Have you checked the cliff? Are there any caves down there that people could hide in? Hua Xiqian is a cunning man. I don't believe he would dig his own grave. Lu Yan was experienced and didn't believe it was as simple as jumping off the cliff. I've checked, boss. It's the cliff below. No one has tampered with it. There are no suspicious caves nearby. Hearing this, Lu Yan's heart sank again. Boss, I'm sorry. We've been tasked with protecting young Madam's family. Unfortunately, we didn't do our best. We won't complain if you want to kill us or torture us. The person lowered his head and apologized to Lu Yan over the phone. But Lu Yan wasn't in the mood to talk to him about punishment. She felt as if 10,000 alpacas had trampled on her heart. She wanted to curse but couldn't bring herself to do so. Lu Yan immediately hung up the call on her watch. Yan. Xiao Fei wanted to say something to comfort her. Psycho Xiao, do you think Dad will be as sad as I am when he finds out my sister is dead? It happened so suddenly. I don't think we can come to a conclusion so soon. Why don't we go back to China and take a look? Xiao Fei said. Didn't you say you shouldn't come back? Lu Yan looked at him in surprise. It's different this time. Something happened to my sister's family. We have to go and take a look. Xiao Fei was a very simple person. He was not interested in adding flowers to brocade, but it was necessary for him to provide timely assistance. Qin Chu had personally flown to Russia to perform the complicated surgery when Xiao Fei was shot. Now, Huamin was in trouble, Qin Chu was in a coma, and there was a pair of cute children at home. No one could bear to ignore such a situation. Besides, Lu Yan was the baby's real aunt. Yes, we'll leave immediately. Because of Huamin's accident, Lu Yan stopped the war in the oil country. Because he didn't complete the task, he had to pay the employer double the commission. For Lu Yan, this was like cutting off her flesh. She had always valued money as much as her life, but this time, she was willing to risk everything. Lu Yan's sudden withdrawal alerted Ian in Israel. Lu Yan left halfway and offered to pay the employer double the commission. It's strange. I've known her for so many years, and she doesn't seem to be a person who doesn't like money, Ian said in fluent English with his hands on his temples and narrowed his eyes. Maybe she had something urgent to do. Do you know where she went after she left? Ian asked. We can't find out. The plane she was on had anti-tracking and positioning radar. We can't find her. Hee, this is interesting. She's playing hide-and-seek with me again. Ian laughed creepily. Chapter 2980. You still can't contact Hua? Ian asked. Nope. What about the informants over there? None of them, one of his subordinates replied. Good. It seems they've all been killed. If we want to know what happened, we'll have to go there. Ian stood up with a smile. Late at night at the Sue family's mansion, Lady Sue and the nanny bathed the two kids, changed their clothes, and sent them back to their room. Sue went over with a few tablets, wanting to play games with the kids. However, Little Bean was so tired that she fell asleep. Pudding, on the other hand, was sitting quietly by the bed. She was wearing pink pajamas. Pudding, why aren't you sleeping? Handsome Sue, do you think Mommy will come back? No matter how mature Pudding was, at this moment, she was just a poor child who had lost her mother. Sue felt a lump in his throat. Yes, I believe she will. She loves you guys so much. She won't just leave you guys like this, right? Yeah, I think she will too. She told me before that she wants to see us grow up and get married. She also said that when Little Bean and I get married, she'll be as sad as Daddy. She also said that you'll cry like a dog, handsome Sue. Sue, she said bad things about me behind my back. Sue pretended to be angry, but in fact, he was very sad. Yeah. Mommy said that handsome Sue is so close to us that he'll watch us grow up and treat us like his own daughters. I didn't know she had such a high opinion of me. Sue pursed his lips. It's late. Pudding, you must go to bed. Handsome Sue, tomorrow. I want to see Daddy. He hasn't woken up yet, Sue said. I know. I won't disturb him. I just want to see him. Just one look. At least I'll know that he's still here and didn't abandon us. What about Little Bean? Sue was afraid that Little Bean would know. That's easy. I'll ask Grandma Sue to take her out for dessert. I'll take the opportunity to go in your car. Then, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. What you need to do now is to go to sleep. Otherwise, you won't be pretty. All right. Good night, my little pudding. Good night, handsome Sue. Sue gently kissed Pudding's head with the love and care of a father. After coaxing the twins, Sue couldn't fall asleep. These few days, the bits and pieces of getting to know Huamin were like a movie. Those scenes kept replaying in his mind, and he couldn't erase them even if he wanted to. Sue lay on the bed and took out his phone. He opened a photo of Huamin from a long time ago. It was when Huamin was a doctor at Southside. He was wearing a white coat and a pair of black-rimmed glasses. Although he was dressed very old-fashioned, his eyes were always full of spirituality. Once you fell in love with him, you would never be able to let him go. Dr. Hua, are you afraid that I'll keep chasing you? If you don't accept me, you'll feel bad. If you accept me, you're afraid that Chin Chu will be sad. That's why you ran away and hid. Come back. I won't chase you anymore. Even if I become gay, I won't bother you anymore. I won't bring trouble to your family. As long as you're alive. As long as you come back. I'll do anything, really anything. Sue's voice became smaller and smaller. The next morning, he took out a strand of hair that he had painstakingly pulled off when he said goodnight to Pudding the night before. He planned to do a DNA comparison with the nameless female corpse. Chapter 2981. Lord Su, over here. Tang Chuan arrived even earlier than Su Yu. Did you not sleep last night? Su Yu asked when he saw Tang Chuan's dark circles, which were even more serious than his own. Don't mention it. My granddad stayed over in my room for the first time and cried the whole night. She used 4 rolls of tissue paper and wetted 2 of my Armani shirts. Then, she fell asleep and had nightmares. I didn't sleep much because I wanted to watch over her and let her sleep well. When did you become China's good boyfriend? Suyu glanced at Tang Chuan and asked. Wrong. I'm China's good fiancé. By the way, Lord Su, did you bring Pudding's hair? Yes. Suyu took out a white paper bag containing Pudding's hair. To be honest, I don't know. I wanted to ask you yesterday. Isn't my sister-in-law pregnant? Why don't you just check if the female corpse is pregnant? Tang Chuan asked curiously. You're so uncultured. It's scary. Tang Chuan, come on, let me teach you a lesson today. First, if the female corpse is also pregnant, can you be sure that she's Mian just because she's pregnant? Isn't that a bit too general? Only by doing a DNA comparison can the police confirm the corpse's identity. Do you think you're some kind of god? You think you can just say who she is? Tang Chuan, second, Mian fell from such a high place and was soaked in the sea for so long. It's very likely that she had a miscarriage. So, you can't even be sure that she's pregnant. What's the point of checking? Even if you check, you can't prove her identity. That's a waste of time. Tang Chuan, you have a point. You're lucky that you're talking to me. If you ask Gao Ran, he'll probably curse you to death. If all police officers handled cases like you, they would have been fired long ago. Alright, let's hurry over. Tang Chuan looked embarrassed and did not argue with Suyu. The two of them walked over and handed the hair to the inspector. Half an hour later, young Master Su, are the results out yet? Suyu asked nervously. Yes, it has been confirmed that it is indeed not Ms. Huamin's corpse. That's good. Suyu let out a long sigh. The huge stone in his heart was quickly lifted. Actually, this is good news for us. Tang Chuan was elated as well. Continue to order the search and rescue team to expand the search area, Suyu said to Tang Chuan. All right. What about you? Are you going to the company later? Tang Chuan asked. Suyu probably hadn't been to Imperial Star since the incident. I'm going to the military hospital. The specialists from Jing City are already here. They're going to treat Qin Chu today. Lord Su, you're really China's best rival in love. Get out. All right, I'm sorry to hold you up. Go now. By the way, Old Wei and the others might come over later. I heard that. Sister-in-law Xiao Wei is also seriously ill and has a high fever. Okay, I got it. Suyu then drove directly to the military hospital. On the way there, he remembered that he had to bring Pudding with him, so he called her. The Su family's chauffeur drove Pudding to Suyu's car. Then, the two of them went to the military hospital together. Pudding, don't cry when you see your daddy later, I know. Today, Uncle Su found a lot of good doctors to treat him. I'm sure he'll wake up soon, Suyu comforted the child. Don't lie to me. I know that he might never wake up, Pudding said. Who told you that? Suyu frowned slightly. Chapter 2982. Do you still need to say that? If my daddy's condition wasn't serious, you wouldn't have to find a specialist from Jing City, Pudding said. Suyu, if you can get a specialist from the military hospital in Jing City, it means my daddy's condition is very bad. Suyu, no, Pudding, listen to me. Pudding, handsome Su, you just want me to feel better. I understand. It's okay, really. I've already thought of the worst-case scenario. Suyu's heart ached slightly. He reached out and patted Pudding's head. Do you believe in handsome Su? Of course. Pudding nodded. Do you believe in your daddy? Suyu asked again. Of course. Good. Then you must believe that your daddy will be fine, and your mommy, will be fine too. Emichim, okay. I know you're just trying to comfort me, but it's not wrong to think this way. Pudding sighed slightly. Then, Suyu held Pudding's hand as they walked into the hospital. When they arrived, Jiang Xiaowei and Wei Liao were already there. Gao Ran was also here, Lord Su, the female corpse. Gao Ran was about to ask Suyu about the search and rescue team's progress. But when he saw Pudding beside Suyu, Gao Ran immediately swallowed the rest of his words. Suyu gave Gao Ran a look, and the latter immediately changed the topic. The specialist is already inside. We just need to wait for the results. Emichim, let's wait patiently. Suyu walked over and sat down on the bench by the door with Pudding in his arms. Pudding, can you come stay with Auntie for a few days? Yunchu has been talking about you. Jiang Xiaowei immediately squatted down and held Pudding's little hand. Her heart ached. Jiang Xiaowei's eyes were red and swollen. She must have cried many times. It was said that she had a high fever, so Wei Liao brought her to the military hospital to see a doctor. It's okay, Auntie Xiaowei. My sister and I are fine at Handsome Sue's place. Auntie will take you out to play in a few days. Jiang Xiaowei always wanted to do something for the children. If Huamin was really dead, then these two children would indeed be the pitiful Xiao Chao without a mother. Okay. When we want to go out and play, we'll call Auntie Xiaowei and she'll bring Yunchu out, Pudding said. Jiang Xiaowei nodded with tears in her eyes. Rather than saying that Jiang Xiaowei was comforting Pudding, Pudding was comforting her. In fact, with the child's current mental state, how could she be in the mood to play? But if he refused, wouldn't the adults be even more worried? Therefore, in order to make Jiang Xiaowei feel better, Pudding lied. While Jiang Xiaowei and Pudding were talking, Gao Ran pulled Suyu to the side. He gathered with Wei Liao and the other two and discussed in low voices. How's the identification of the body? Gao Ran asked. The results are out. It's not Mian, Suyu said. That's great. Gao Ran and Wei Liao were also relieved. Old Wei, about that day. Suyu looked at Wei Liao with some embarrassment. In fact, he wanted to apologize for his impulsiveness that day. After so many years of being buddies, he and Wei Liao didn't seem to have such a big fight. That's not a big deal. Let's not talk about it. The current situation is, what should we do? Should we continue to capture Huasiqian's remaining members and ask them if their boss has any other plans? I have a feeling that guy won't kill his people so easily, Wei Liao said. Chapter 2983. Old Wei is right. I was thinking the same thing. Old Gao, I'll leave this to you. Huasiqian's business isn't legal. I've collected a lot of information on his crimes. Young Master Shin seems to have a lot of it too. We can take this opportunity to shut down the Hua Corporation. Then you can bring your men and arrest him openly. What happens after we arrest him? Gao Ran asked. Torture him. Whatever. See if we can get anything out of him. Didn't Ching tell Qin Chu about Huasiqian's island? But Ching is missing now. We lost contact with him after Qin Chu's accident. We don't know if he ran away or was killed by Huasiqian's men. Don't worry about Ching for now. Besides Ching, Huasiqian has other men. Don't even let go of the small fry. We can't let go of any valuable clues. Okay, I understand. I'll send my men to arrest him. Send me the evidence of Huasiqian's crimes. No problem. Suyu nodded. The three of them chatted. The door to the ward opened. Suyu hurried over. He saw Professor Luo from the capital city. Professor Luo was no stranger to everyone. He was a famous professor in the capital city. He had invited Huamin to the capital city several times, but Huamin had turned him down every time. But in name, he was Huamin's teacher. Huamin had won many awards and been promoted because of Professor Luo. Professor Luo was old. He had reached the age where he should retire. Because of his excellent medical skills, the capital city's military doctors were reluctant to let him go. Plus, Professor Luo and Su Yu's grandfather were close friends. So, whenever Su Yu asked, he would grant him anything. "Professor Luo, how's my friend?" Su Yu asked anxiously. This was the first time Su Yu had admitted that Qin Chu was his friend in public. To be honest, even Gao Ran felt warm when he heard Su Yu call him that. Your friend's condition doesn't look good." Professor Luo sighed slightly. Su Yu's heart sank when he heard this. Everyone became nervous as well. Jiang Xiaowei could clearly feel that her hand that was holding the pudding was gradually becoming cold. "Professor, what's going on? Can you tell us in detail?" Suze was panicking. He knew that a patient that even Professor Luo couldn't do anything about was basically hopeless. He's unconscious and in a deep coma. His physical indicators are very weak. There are two important points. First, the patient doesn't have the consciousness to wake up. In other words, the patient has given up on himself. Second, there's a toxin in the patient's body that has accumulated over a long period of time. It's a psychotropic drug that suppresses the cerebral cortex. It's a bit toxic, and his liver has begun to show signs of damage. Then, what will happen if this continues? Su Yu wanted to ask about the worst-case scenario. Pudding watched the heart-wrenching conversation between the old man and Su Yu. Professor Luo lowered his head and looked at the data on Qin Chu's body. Then, he looked at Su Yu. He said slowly, "To be honest, if this continues, the patient will be brain dead in less than a year. If his liver isn't damaged, he might be able to live in a vegetative state for 3 to 5 years, or even 8 to 10 years. But now that he's in a coma, his liver's necrosis has accelerated. It will only accelerate his death." "Death?" Su Yu gasped. Chapter 2984. Yes, he won't be able to hold on for long. Once the liver is completely necrotic, even God can't save him. Then, is there no other way? Yes, there are 2 ways to save him. As soon as Professor Luo finished speaking, Pudding stood up before Su Yu could say anything. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel polite enough to interrupt the adults. "Grandpa Professor, what's the way to save my daddy?" Professor Luo glanced at Pudding and looked at her in surprise. "Is this Huamin's child?" he asked. He knew that the patient this time was Huamin's husband, so he knew when he heard the child called Qin Chu daddy. "Yeah, she's one of Huamin's twin daughters," Su Yu said. Professor Luo looked at Pudding lovingly. Professor Luo nodded and continued, "The first way is that the patient has a strong will and a strong desire to live. Maybe he'll be able to wake up. Once he wakes up, everything will be fine." "Then, what's the second way?" Su Yu asked. "The second way? To be honest, the chances are even lower. You can find a better doctor who dares to remove the necrotic organs while he's in a coma. The surgery isn't difficult, but the problem is that the patient won't be conscious. Even after the surgery, he'll still be in a vegetative state. Then, his liver might continue to necrosis. Unless the doctor who performs the surgery can find a drug that can remove the toxins from his body, then the liver won't continue to necrosis. But there's another possibility. Even if you find a better doctor who can remove the toxins from Qin Chu's body, but Qin Chu doesn't want to wake up, then the result will still be the same. He'll be in a vegetative state for 8 to 10 years. So, you guys have to be prepared for the worst. Professor Luo's explanation was complicated, but everyone understood. After hearing this, Jiang Xiaowei hugged Pudding and began to sob quietly. How can this be? What will happen to the twins in the future? Jiang Xiaowei was going crazy. The news of Huamin's death was a heavy blow to her group of friends. Now, Qin Chu's situation was even more worrying. Zhu Lingling's throat was basically unable to speak at home. Her mouth was full of mouth ulcers, and everything she ate hurt. Even drinking water was painful. Originally, she wanted to go to the hospital with Gao Ran today, but Gao Ran saw that it was useless for her to come. She would only be sadder and angrier. Sure enough, after Professor Luo finished speaking, everyone became listless. Su Yu's mood these days could be described as exploding. She wanted to scold him, but she didn't have the strength to do so. Professor, can you operate on Qin Chu? I'm sorry, I can't do it. It's not that I don't want to help you, it's just that I'm not confident. Professor Luo said. If even you aren't confident, then no one in the country would dare to do this surgery. Su Yu was almost desperate. My suggestion is, you can try to contact a liver surgeon in the United States, as well as a pharmaceutical doctor. You can detoxify him first, then perform the surgery. Isn't Qin Chu from Harvard Medical School? I think you can try to contact his school, his professors, or his classmates. Maybe, there's still hope. Okay, that's all we can do. Thank you, Professor. Su Yu lowered his head dejectedly. You're welcome, I didn't help much. Oh right, did you find Huamin? Any news? Professor Luo had been thinking about Huamin ever since he heard that Huamin was missing. After everyone left the hospital, Siyu asked Jiang Xiaowei and Wei Liao to take Pudding back first. Pudding originally wanted to go back to the Su family, but Jiang Xiaowei took her to the Wei family, saying that she wanted to see Wei Yunchu. Su Yu went to see Shen Mingxi first. President's office of the Shen Corporation. When Su Yu was brought in by the female secretary, he saw Shen Mingxi feeding Hui Yinyan's daughter. The two of them were very affectionate. It seemed that the rumors about Shen Mingxi bringing a burden with him were true. Lord Su, you're here. When Shen Mingxi saw Su Yu, he immediately stood up. Mingxi, give me all the criminal information you have on the Hu Corporation. I want as much as you can. The sooner, the better. Su Yu went straight to the point. Chapter 2986. Are you going to teach him a lesson? Shen Mingxi was slightly surprised. No. After Su Yu's answer, Shen Mingxi was even more confused. Hua Xiqian kidnapped Huamin and committed suicide by jumping off a cliff, Su Yu said succinctly. Shen Mingxi was completely at a loss. There was too much information in these two short sentences. Therefore, Shen Mingxi couldn't digest all of it. What's with that expression? Su Yu looked at Shen Mingxi in confusion. Lord Su, don't mess around. Shen Mingxi obviously didn't believe him. Do I look like someone who would joke around with Huamin's life? Su Yu glared at him. Then, did something really happen to Huamin? Yeah, Su Yu answered with a heavy heart. How come I didn't hear anything about it? Shen Mingxi was dumbfounded. I kept it a secret. How could you have heard anything? I see. Then. Since Hua Xiqian is no longer around, isn't it useless for you to have these things? I have my uses. Su Yu obviously didn't want to say more. Okay, I'll give them to you now. Shen Mingxi was easy to talk to. He opened the safe in his office and opened it with layers of passwords. Then, he took out a thick stack of documents. Everything I found is here. Hui Yanyan should have more. But she's crazy right now and emotionally unstable, so I don't know if she'll tell me. Then ask around. The more, the better. I want the whole corporation to disappear from this city, Suyut said angrily. Yeah, that would be best. People like Hua Xiqian should have died a long time ago. Seeing that Suyut didn't say anything, Shen Mingxi changed the topic. It's just a pity for Huamin. Suyu's eyes darkened, and he seemed even more depressed. Qin Chu must be feeling worse, right? Shen Mingxi asked. As for Qin Chu, forget it, I'll talk to you when I have time. I have something important to do now. Alright, I'll leave you to it. If you need anything, feel free to contact me. Okay. Suyu nodded and was about to leave. He glanced at Hui Yanyan's daughter Tian Tian and asked Shen Mingxi. If Hui Yanyan is crazy for the rest of her life, do you really intend to raise this child by your side? I haven't thought that far ahead, but I won't leave her alone for the time being. Tian Tian is innocent, Shen Mingxi looked at Tian Tian and said sympathetically. Then what will you do in the future? You won't remarry. With our status, women would be willing to marry us even if we had 10 children, let alone one, right? Shen Mingxi joked. Not necessarily. If you still want to be with Wei Ying, you can't. Suyu's words made Shen Mingxi's heart tremble. Yes, any woman could accept Tian Tian, but not Wei Ying. The hatred between Wei Ying and Hui Yanyan was irreconcilable, and it still hadn't been resolved yet. If he still wanted to be with Wei Ying, then the child was indeed the biggest problem. Between Wei Ying and me. It's impossible, right? Chapter 2987. It's not that I'm not confident, but I really don't have the face to see Wei Ying. If they cared about their dignity, then most couples in the world would break up. I think, in a relationship, someone has to play the role of the shameless. If both of them have self-esteem, are arrogant, and won't bow down to anyone, then what's the point of dating? Lord Su, you're like a love expert now. Forget it. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Anyway, you'd better think about the kids. Did my mom call you? Shen Mingxi asked. Don't worry about that. I'm saying this for your own good. You don't have to send them to an orphanage, but you can find a good family to adopt them. You don't have to keep them with you, Suyu said. Lord Su, if something happens to Huamin, Qin Chu can't take care of them, and the twins will be homeless. Will you sit by and do nothing? Of course not, Suyuk said without thinking. Then it's fine. Put yourself in my shoes. That's different, Mingxi. How is it different? They're both women we like. He smiled bitterly. There's no hatred or misunderstanding between me and Huamin, unlike you and Hui Yanyan. In Su Yu's heart, no one could compare with Huamin. Shen Mingxi knew he couldn't argue with Su Yu about anything related to Huamian. After all, he had been bullied by Su Yu. Okay. You're good looking. You're right. Su Yu, I'm going. Call me if you need anything. Su Yu turned to leave the Shin Corporation and received a WeChat message from Nieling Xian. It was Cece's number in the U.S., Su Yu dialed it without thinking. Hello. A man answered. Hello, I'm looking for Cece, Su Yu said in English. Who are you? The man seemed displeased. Su Yu reacted immediately. Instead of answering his question, he asked, Are you Rick? Yes. It was indeed Rick's style. He had always been cold and aloof. He didn't even say a word of nonsense. That's great. I'm looking for you. Su Yu directly switched to Chinese. You are. Rick wasn't very familiar with Su Yu, so he didn't recognize the voice. Su Yu. What's the matter? Rick continued to be aloof. Something happened to Chin Chu. Did you know that? What is it? Su Yu then briefly told Rick about the important points. It was about Huamin falling off the cliff and Chin Chu being in a coma. Rick remained silent after hearing that. Rick, are you still listening? Su Yu was also depressed. It was difficult to communicate with a taciturn person. He didn't understand why Nielingshuan's sister, Cici, would fall in love with such a man. I'm listening, what do I need to do now? Rick knew that Su Yu must have a plan to deal with him. The military doctor in Jing City wants to contact Chin Chu's mentor or classmate at Harvard Medical School. He wants to find an excellent hepatologist and someone who knows how to make the antidote. He wants to operate on Chin Chu as soon as possible. Okay. We'll keep in touch. Let me know if there's anything new. Okay. Then, Rick hung up the phone. Rick was such a person. When you tell me about it, I will know it in my heart. You don't need to tell me. I'll do it well. Even if I don't show any expression on my face, it doesn't mean I don't care. After hanging up the phone, Rick lowered his head and sat in a corner of the sofa. He was silent. Rick, what's wrong? When Cici came downstairs, Rick had been sitting there without moving for 3 minutes. Chin Chu and Huamin. Something happened to them. Rick raised his head, unable to hide the sadness in his eyes. Chapter 2988. Huh? What happened? Cici panicked when she heard the news. It's a little complicated. I'm going out for a while. You should sleep early. Rick. Cici seemed to want to know. She pulled Rick's sleeve and refused to let him go. Rick turned his head and looked at Cici's pitiful eyes. He said gently, "You're pregnant. You should take care of your health. It's better if you don't ask. You'll be more worried if you know. Plus, it won't help. Leave it to me. You take care of yourself." Okay. Then, Rick left the villa. Before he left, he reminded her again. Take good care of Madam. Don't let anyone touch her. Yes. Cici was less than 2 months pregnant. They had been together for many years and were finally going to be parents. Cici's pregnancy was both a blessing and a curse for Rick. He loved Cici deeply, so he definitely loved the child. But with Rick's current situation, if people found out, Cici and the child would be in danger. The Rick family had many enemies. Many people were waiting to take advantage of his weakness. But Cici seemed to be very happy. She had been very careful since she was pregnant. She even paid attention to her diet. She loved cold food, but she even stopped eating ice cream. She just wanted to take care of the baby in her stomach. Now, all they needed was a wedding. Because of the Rick family's mafia status, they couldn't have a public wedding and invite guests from all over the world. That would be telling everyone that they had a wife and now they had another weakness. He didn't want Cici to expose too much because he was afraid that she would be in danger. So when he found out that Cici was pregnant, Rick thought a lot. In the end, he decided to find an island with beautiful scenery and invite a few friends to celebrate. Rick didn't have many friends. He was only close to Chin Chu and Huamin's family. He had talked to Chin Chu on the phone before and expressed his intention. Chin Chu also agreed with Rick's idea of a low-key wedding. It could give Cece a promise and also ensure her and the child's safety. But Huamin was pregnant and it wasn't easy for her to fly long distances. Plus, Hua Xiqian had been restless recently. So, the two men agreed to discuss the details of the wedding after this matter was resolved. Unfortunately, man proposes but God disposes. Hua Xiqian's big move caught everyone off guard. Rick knew that if Su Yu called him personally, it couldn't be fake news. Moreover, Su Yu and Qin Chu had witnessed Hua Xiqian jumping off the cliff with Huamin in his arms. Rick's mood was very heavy. His personality was similar to Qin Chu's. When he was in a bad mood, he just spoke less than usual. After answering Su Yu's call, Rick took a few of his men and went to Qin Chu's medical school in the United States. He wanted to see if he could solve Qin Chu's problem first. On the other side, Lu Yan and Qiao Fei arrived at Sea City discreetly. Since Lu Yan was an international fugitive, she would change her identity and disguise her face every time she entered the country. At the beginning of June, Sea City was already very hot. People on the streets and alleys were wearing shorts, short-sleeved shirts, and light clothes like sunscreen. Lu Yan wore simple denim shorts with suspenders. Inside, she wore a white short-sleeved shirt with Minnie Mouse on it. Her long hair was tied into a simple ponytail. She wasn't old to begin with, so she was dressed like a high school student. Qiao Fei had to wear denim shorts and a white short-sleeved shirt with Mickey Mouse on it. The couple's couple outfits were extremely attractive. Even at the airport, some fans mistook Lu Yan, who was wearing sunglasses, for a popular Chinese actress. May. We love you. A group of fans surrounded her. Lu Yan was so scared that she almost pulled out a knife. Chapter 2989. What are you doing? Seeing that Lu Yan was about to hit him, Qiao Fei was speechless. He grabbed Lu Yan's hand from behind her waist. Others would think they were a couple showing off their love. Before Lu Yan could say anything, she was drowned out by the enthusiastic shouts of the fans. Qiao Fei had been holding her hand and they finally broke out of the encirclement. You've got the wrong person. She's not a star, Qiao Fei explained. I don't believe you. Yeah. Beauty, take off your glasses and let us see. Your skin is so good. What makeup do you use? Tell us. Your new works are so beautiful. We went to buy tickets for you. I took my boyfriend to see them 3 times. Beauty, can you post more selfies on Weibo for us? Didn't you say you're single? Is the guy in the matching outfit your boyfriend? He's your agent, right? The fans' shouts almost made Lu Yan's head explode. She swore that if they weren't in an airport, she would detonate a bunch of bombs and blow up all these brainless fans. At this moment, a young female star walked out of another VIP passage. Her agent and assistant carried her bag in front and her bodyguards behind her. It was a grand entrance. Ha! I think we've got the wrong person. That's the real deal. After a fan said that, a large group of fans immediately left and surrounded her. Flowers, presents, and cheers. It was simply, Lu Yan had been flying around the world since she was a child. To be honest, even a Hollywood superstar wouldn't be like this. Sometimes, people in China were too willing to chase after stars and treat them as important. Lu Yan, on the other hand, was a person who lived on the edge of a knife and never interacted with stars. Because they weren't the same kind of people. Fuck. I almost killed them. Seeing those people leave, Lu Yan finally breathed a sigh of relief. She stuffed a new Louis Vuitton travel bag into Qiao Fei's arms. Do you have to do this? They're just a bunch of kids chasing after stars. Xiao Fei chuckled, finding the scene ridiculous and amusing. The situation was so chaotic at that time. How would I know if there was an assassin who sneaked in to kill me? Well, it's good to be vigilant at all times. But I think the misunderstanding this time is because we're dressed too casually. If you wear your black windbreaker, won't it be fine? Fuck. Are you crazy? These few months, you made me wear a windbreaker on such a hot day. Are you trying to suffocate me to death so that you can inherit my wealth? Xiao Fei, ancestor, you're really thinking too much. What I wanted to say was that most people prefer black, and they don't like to wear short sleeves because they don't want their skin to be exposed, Xiao Fei explained. Lu Yan took out a piece of chewing gum and put it in her mouth. She chewed it and blew bubbles as she replied, that's because they're afraid that they'll be discovered by the enemy if they get hurt. Then, they'll lose more easily. Then why didn't you follow the rules? Xiao Fei looked at Lu Yan in puzzlement. That's because I can't get hurt at all. The people who can hurt me can basically kill me. Even if I wear a down jacket, it's useless. After a few seconds of silence, Xiao Fei replied, you're indeed the most arrogant assassin in history. Wrong. I'm not an assassin. I'm a real mercenary. Lu Yan smiled smugly. Okay. Mercenary Queen, what are we going to do now? Kill people. Throwing out the words, Lu Yan stood up and walked away. Xiao Fei followed her closely. Chapter 2990. Like Lu Yan, Xiao Fei hadn't been to China many times and wasn't familiar with the city. When Lu Yan mentioned killing people, Xiao Fei thought she was just joking. Xiao Fei thought she would visit Qin Chu first. Unfortunately, she didn't. In a narrow and dark alley, Lu Yan stepped on a man's neck. Tell me, what's Hua Xiqian's plan? I really don't know. I'm just an errand boy. How would I know about this? You don't know. Very good. The moment he said that, Lu Yan raised her knife. Heavy weapons weren't allowed at the security checkpoint. Therefore, Lu Yan thought of a way to bring a sharp dagger and set up an anti-interference signal around it. She even fooled the security checkpoint. This dagger had been with Lu Yan for many years. Although it didn't look special, it was made of special materials and could cut through iron like mud. Professor Lu gave it to her for her 12th birthday to protect her. He made it himself. Some special elements were added to it. Apparently, it was made of materials used in aviation, so it was invulnerable. After following Lu Yan for so many years, it had developed a strong bond with her. Whenever it was unsheathed, it would kill, leaving no one alive. Lu Yan was very good at using it. It was very compatible with the dagger. A cold light flashed, and a few seconds later, the man's head drooped and he died. Lu Yan looked at the information on her watch. These were the results of her subordinate's investigation. She knew where these Hua Xiqian remnants were hiding and where their homes were. Lu Yan arrived in Sea City in less than 3 hours. She killed 7 people. She was a professional killer. I'll ask you one more time, do you know or not? I really don't know. Please forgive me. The man trembled in fear. Lu Yan glanced at him coldly and slit his throat with the knife. The man didn't even have a chance to scream, Yan, that's enough. Let's call it a day, Xiao Fei persuaded. What? Are you softening your heart? Lu Yan looked at Xiao Fei. No, I don't want you to be too tired. Pooh. I'm surprised by your answer. I thought you'd say it's too cruel to kill so many people. Lu Yan chuckled. How could that be? As the king of the mercenary world, there are so many assassins who fear you. I wouldn't be surprised even if you killed a whole company. You're a warrior who fought your way out of a pile of corpses. A warrior who escaped from a pile of corpses. This description is very accurate. I like it very much. Lu Yan put away the dagger and stopped killing as Qiao Fei said. Shouldn't we find a place to rest? Qiao Fei felt bad for Lu Yan. She hadn't even rested after getting off the plane and was already working so hard. Don't worry, I'll take you somewhere. After that, the two of them got into the car and left. Sea City's eastern district. Inside an inconspicuous bar, Lu Yan led Qiao Fei in and found it was dimly lit and smoky. Lu Yan glanced around and didn't find the person she was looking for, so she went up to the second floor. However, he was stopped at the staircase. Hey, what are you doing? Looking for someone, Lu Yan said. Looking for someone? The person you're looking for isn't upstairs, the man at the door yelled. He was about 1.9 meters tall and had a strong back and waist. I haven't even looked for him yet. How do you know he's not here? Of course, the second floor is my boss's private office. Outsiders aren't allowed in. Go away, little girl, go play somewhere else. The man looked at the girl in a mini t-shirt and denim shorts. She was so young that he guessed she was here to cause trouble. I'm here for your boss, Lu Yan said stubbornly. Chapter 2991. Looking for our boss. The man didn't believe her and repeated his question. Yes. Lu Yan was surprisingly patient, which was rare for her. Because she felt that this blockhead was really interesting. Who are you to our boss? The man sized up Lu Yan from head to toe and thought curiously that he had never seen such a woman around his boss. She looked unfamiliar. I'm a very close friend of your boss. Nonsense. I've been with him for more than 2 months. How come I've never seen you? Lu Yan rubbed the tip of her nose, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Little girl, this is not a place where you should be. Quickly take your pretty boy and leave. Little girl. Toy boy. Qiao Fei's face turned green when he heard the word toy boy. He swore that if Lu Yan wasn't here, he would have chopped this blockhead into pieces. TSK. You know what? You just picked up something. Lu Yan told him the secret of the shrine. What did I pick up? The big man was puzzled. You narrowly escaped death. You should be glad you're still alive. What are you talking about? Little girl, let me tell you. This isn't an ordinary bar. If you want a drink, go somewhere else. Don't come here. The big man pushed Lu Yan out impatiently. Before his hand could touch Lu Yan twisted his arm and dislocated it with a crack. The pain was indescribable. It was obvious from the big man's twisted expression. The big man's scream attracted the attention of the other thugs in the bar. They saw the commotion from afar and immediately ran over. Before they could reach Lu Yan, the man upstairs stopped them. Stop, all of you. Big brother. The thugs immediately greeted him respectfully. Hearing the commotion downstairs, Paul immediately came out to check. Seeing the commotion, he had to stop it. He remembered that his boss had told him not to cause trouble in China and to keep a low profile. Therefore, they rarely took the initiative to cause trouble. The bar was dimly lit, so they couldn't see the people downstairs. Paul walked downstairs in a black suit. At first, he looked cold and expressionless. When he saw Lu Yan, he was dumbfounded. Old. Can't you speak properly? Lu Yan asked. Paul dropped to his knees with a thud. That's right, you didn't see it wrong. He was indeed kneeling on both knees to pay his respects. His subordinates were all dumbfounded. Their boss, who had always been cold and mysterious, was actually kneeling down to a little girl who looked like she was only 20 years old. "Boss, when did you arrive? Why didn't you inform me? If I told you, would you be able to see such a fun scene today?" Lu Yen said. When he heard that even his boss had to call this little girl boss, the blockhead was completely dumbfounded. "Big brother, who is she?" the blockhead asked curiously as Lu Yen twisted his arm. "How dare you? Are you asking about the boss's identity?" After saying that, Paul took out his gun and aimed it at the blockhead. "It's your subordinate's fault. Kill him immediately as an apology to the boss." "No need, I've killed enough today. I want to take a break." Then Lu Yen pushed the blockhead hard, and he fell to the ground with a thud. "Boss, quick, please come upstairs." Kneeling on the ground, Paul said respectfully. Seeing Xiao Fei beside Lu Yen, Paul was surprised. "Third young master, you're here too." Chapter 2992. Xiao Fei nodded slightly and followed Lu Yen up the stairs. Paul didn't dare to stand up until the two bosses went upstairs. "Boss, who is that girl? Why are you so afraid of her?" one of his subordinates asked unwillingly. "You better watch your tongue. If you dare to offend her again, I'll kill you." Paul glared at the man. His subordinates were so scared that they didn't dare to say anything. They knew how cruel Paul was. "I'll only say it once. Remember, she's our god." Then, Paul turned around and went upstairs, leaving his subordinates dumbfounded. Paul was sent by Lu Yen to protect Huamin. He was a team under Lu Yen. Opening the bar was just a cover, the real purpose was to protect Huamin and his family. Some of the secret guards were sent out to protect Qin Chu at the hospital. Some were sent to investigate Huamin, and some were sent to track down Huo Xiqian's remaining members. So, Paul was the only one left in charge. Those who didn't recognize Huamian were all small fries and weren't worth mentioning. It was this team that called Lu Yan's watch and begged for death. Lu Yan's arrival made them tremble in fear. Because they failed to protect Huamin, Huamin fell off the cliff. They had been with Lu Yan for many years and knew how angry she was. After entering Paul's office, Lu Yan sat in her chair. Lu Yan sat down in the executive chair, leaned back heavily, and closed her eyes. Xiao Fei pulled a book off the shelf and sat on the sofa, reading it calmly without saying a word. The atmosphere was very strange. After Paul came in, he knelt down and apologized. "Boss, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I couldn't protect Miss Hua." Lu Yan didn't say a word. "Boss, you should punish me. They really did their best. I was careless. I thought that with Qin Chu and Su Yu, Miss Hua would be fine. So, we were still a distance away from her and didn't have time to save her." Lu Yan still didn't say anything. "Boss, I hope that my death will appease your anger." With that, Paul took out a pistol and pointed it at his own head. He gently pulled the trigger. Xiao Fei was puzzled, wondering why Lu Yan didn't react at all. He looked up at Lu Yan. Lu Yan was as calm as ever. Her eyes were closed as if she had fallen asleep. Finally, Paul seemed to have made up his mind and ruthlessly hooked him. Unfortunately, there was no gunshot. Surprised, he looked up at his gun and then at Lu Yan, who was standing not far away from him. Only then did Lu Yan slowly open her eyes. She had a few bullets in her hand. "Are you looking for this?" Lu Yan asked. Paul was speechless. He had been kneeling when Lu Yan walked past him and went upstairs in just a few seconds. She finally stole his bullets, but he didn't even know. The boss's skills were indeed terrifying. If she really wanted to kill him, she wouldn't have waited until now, right? Boss, Paul hesitated. My subordinates aren't cowards who only know how to seek death. I'm sorry, boss. I'm sorry to Miss Hua. Who said my sister must be dead? Lu Yan rolled her eyes at him. Boss, do you know where Miss Hua is? Is there a chance? Paul was pleasantly surprised. I don't know if there's a chance, but I need you to find someone for me as soon as possible, Lu Yan ordered. Who? Paul was puzzled. Chapter 2993. Yan Ruoshi. Do you know her? Lu Yan asked slowly as she played with the globe on her desk. Yan Ruoshi. Is she Mayor Yan's daughter? Yes. Okay, boss. I'll go get her now. Is half an hour enough? Lu Yan glanced at her watch and asked. Yes. Then, Paul left like a gust of wind. He didn't even have time to say goodbye to Lu Yan. Are you sure half an hour is enough? Don't you always get stuck in traffic in China? Xiao Fei put down the book and asked Lu Yan. Stuck in traffic. That's their problem. I'm only responsible for giving orders. Lu Yan's unreasonableness was second to none in the world. Her point of view was, whatever task I give you, just do it. Don't tell me you can't finish it. She wouldn't listen to any of your explanations. Even if there was a traffic jam, you had to find a way to get her back. It was that simple. Okay. You win. Xiao Fei was speechless again. Paul left less than 3 minutes ago. Someone knocked on the door. Come in. The blockhead whose arm was dislocated walked in, trembling. He held a tray in his hand. On it was an exquisite fruit platter and 2 cups of coffee. Boss. No, Mr. Paul told me to take good care of you. If you need anything, just tell me. After witnessing Lu Yan's power, the blockhead didn't dare to be fierce anymore. When he saw Lu Yan, he was like a mouse that saw a cat. You look dumb, but you're quite attentive, boss. You flatter me. The blockhead was scared. Bring me the fruit platter. I'm really hungry. Lu Yan beckoned with her finger. The blockhead immediately walked over and put down the fruit platter and coffee. Then, he placed a cup in front of Xiao Fei. Lu Yan picked up a piece of watermelon and put it in her mouth. Suddenly, she said, I want to eat scallion pancakes. Huh? The blockhead was puzzled. When I was in Chinatown, would eat some local snacks. I like scallion pancakes and rigiamo. Can you buy some for me? Lu Yan's tone was like a spoiled child, making the blockhead uncomfortable. Sure. Boss. Wait a moment. I'll be back soon. With that, the burly man rushed out like a gust of wind. After the big man left, Xiao Fei smiled and picked up his coffee. Look at how scared you are. Am I that scary? What do you think? Xiao Fei asked. Then why aren't you afraid of me? Lu Yan asked. Because I'm scarier than you are, Xiao Fei replied shamelessly. Psycho Xiao, do you know what I like most about you? What? I like how shameless you are. Lu Yan lowered her head and continued eating the watermelon. In less than 10 minutes, the burly man rushed out of the store and bought scallion pancakes and rigiamo. He also bought stinky tofu and potato powder. This was because he guessed that the boss of this boss liked street food. I remember. I only said I wanted rugiamo and scallion pancakes, right? Lu Yen looked at the food and asked. The burly man was shocked and knelt down with a thud. I'm sorry, boss, I'll take the extra ones away right away. Don't. I mean, you bought 2 extra ones for me. They're all my favorites. Good job. Lu Yen said with a smile. The burly man was dumbfounded again. He almost peed himself just now because Boss Paul told him to treat her well. He had to serve this great aunt well. If he wasn't careful, he might lose his head. It wasn't a bluff, it was true. Lu Yan was famous in the mercenary world for being a murderous maniac. She never felt guilty about killing people. Because that was what she was supposed to do, she held the record for the most kills in the mercenary world. Once, she fought with a group of drug lords in Mexico. Lu Yan killed 57 people. She used knives, guns, and even grenades. The scene was quite explosive. You seem to be afraid of me. Lu Yan took a bite of the scallion pancake and looked up at the blockhead with a smile. Her smile scared the hell out of him. She had never imagined that the 20-year-old girl in front of her could be so cruel. Who are you? Why are you doing this to me? Yen Ruoshi didn't dare to be arrogant anymore and burst into tears. Chapter 2995. Second question, is Hua Xiqin really dead? I don't know. I really don't know. He won't tell me anything. Yen Ruoshi shook her head in tears. With a swoosh, Lu Yan's throwing knife pierced into her left calf. Yen Ruoshi was driven crazy by the pain. Please, don't kill me. How much money do you want? My daddy has it. Yen Ruoshi usually looked feisty, but she had princess syndrome. She always talked about money as if her family was the richest in the world. Money? No, I'm not interested in it at all. I've done more business than your daddy in his lifetime. I advise you to tell the truth. I really don't know. Yen Ruoshi broke down and cried. Third question. When did Hua Xiqin start planning this plan? Lu Yan asked. Yen Ruoshi didn't dare to say she didn't know anymore because she saw the throwing knife in Lu Yan's hand was ready to strike. If this went on, sooner or later, she would have many bloody holes in her body. If she told the truth, she might be able to survive. So this time, Yen Ruoshi learned her lesson. Hua Xiqin's plan must have been planned for many years. But the real execution started from our fake wedding. Good. You finally said something useful. Lu Yan nodded in satisfaction and glanced at Yen Ruoshi. Continue. I'll tell you everything I know. Please don't kill me, okay? Yen Ruoshi cried and begged for mercy. Tell me first. Lu Yan's voice was soft, but anyone who heard it would be scared. I've been working for Hua Xiqin for many years, but he didn't let me know many things. I really don't know much. I only know that Hua Xiqin really likes Huamin. He likes Huamin so much that he wants to get Huamin to stay by his side. He must have a big plan, but I really don't know what it is. He said that marrying me was just a cover. I thought he would do it on the wedding day, but he didn't. Later, I moved to my own house and lived separately from him. He didn't look for me. I think he must be busy with his plan. Later, after Hua Xiqin's accident, one of his former subordinates sold the information to me for 200,000 yuan. He said he died and jumped off a cliff with Huamin in his arms. That's all I know. Hearing this, Lu Yan was silent, Oh, I know that he has a split personality. Split personality. Lu Yan looked up. Yeah. He has a split personality and has been taking a psychotropic drug for a long time. If he forgets to take it and is stimulated, he'll turn into another person. It's very scary. Do you believe that Hua Xiqian jumped off a cliff and died? Lu Yan asked Yan Ruoshi. To be honest, it's hard to say. It's possible. One is that he's very cunning and it might just be a plan. Another is that he's split into another personality. Then, anything is possible. After all, that personality is very extreme. I see. Lu Yan didn't seem surprised at all. I think if you want to know more, you can go and catch Qing. He's Hua Xiqian's most trusted subordinate, Yan Ruoshi said. I don't need you to teach me that. Lu Yan rolled her eyes at this woman. Boss, what should we do now? Let her go, Lu Yan ordered Paul. Won't she cause trouble for us if we let her go? Paul looked like he wanted to kill her. Does she dare? Lu Yan smiled contemptuously. Then, she stood up and walked out. Psycho Qiao, let's go. Boss, I've prepared a place for you to stay. No. I have more important things to do now. Then, Lu Yan went downstairs in a dashing manner. Chapter 2996. Qiao Fei's personality was the complete opposite of Lu Yan's. He was a man of few words and would do whatever you said. He could even help you at a critical moment. Lu Yan was used to being alone. Now that Qiao Fei was with her, she was used to following him around like a shadow. Before they left, Qiao Fei knew it would be cold outside, so he went into a branded clothing store and bought a black suit for Lu Yan without saying a word. When Lu Yan turned around, he put the suit on her. Damn! You're so fast. It was hard to imagine that someone could buy a suit worth tens of thousands of yuan in less than 2 minutes. Only Qiao Fei could do this. It's cold here at night, Qiao Fei said. I'm not even afraid of death. Why would I be afraid of catching a cold? Lu Yan chuckled. You're not afraid, but I am. Then, Qiao Fei walked forward without a change in his expression, ignoring Lu Yan. But hearing his words, Lu Yan felt warm in her heart. For so many years, other than her dad and sister, Qiao Fei was the only person who treated her the best. Although her dad and sister were her closest relatives, they spent very little time with her. On the other hand, Psycho Qiao had been with her since they eloped in Russia. Although nothing had happened between them, they had grown attached to each other after spending so much time together. Lu Yan and Qiao Fei were both decisive people. So, they left the bar and went to South Side. Paul, that fellow, was very sensible. He had prepared a supercar for his master. So, in less than 15 minutes, Lu Yan arrived at the military hospital. The military hospital had strict security. Usually, when people came to see Qin Chu, they were let in by Su Yu. But Lu Yan didn't, but this wasn't a problem for her. The girl took almost 50 seconds to get through the military hospital surveillance system. Then, he swaggered into the building under the surveillance cameras. But the ward area upstairs was a bit troublesome because Su Yu had sent bodyguards to guard it 24/7. So, are we going to fight again? Qiao Fei stood behind Lu Yan and glanced at the 4 bodyguards at the door. Fight? Oh, no, I never do such a rude thing. Stop pretending. You really don't fight. You've always killed people. Qiao Fei exposed Lu Yan's lie. Ha, Psycho Qiao, can you not be so blunt? Save me some face. So are you going to do it, or should I? I already said that we don't need to do anything. You're not going to use explosives again, are you? This is a military hospital. You'd better be careful, Xiao Fei advised. He knew Lu Yan was a woman who would use explosives without warning. Therefore, he was really worried that she would find it troublesome and directly use small explosives. No need. Watch me. Then, Lu Yan took off her suit and strutted over. In the past, she had sprayed something on herself. It smelled very good, even stronger than perfume. Stop. Oh, I'm here to see my friend. What's your friend's surname? The bodyguard asked with a dark expression. His last name is Zhang, no, Zhao, right? Lu Yan made up a story. He's not the person you're looking for. There's only one patient on this floor. This is a restricted area and no one is allowed to enter. Oh, he's a military leader. Lu Yan gossiped. Don't ask too much. It won't do you any good. Little girl, let's go, the bodyguard urged. Okay. Goodbye. Lu Yan waved her hand with a smile. As soon as she finished speaking, the 4 bodyguards fell to the ground. Chapter 2997. Done. Lu Yan clapped her hands. Xiao Fei was no longer curious about Lu Yan's eccentricities. He didn't know where she got all kinds of poisons, drugs, and bombs. He heard that a drug manufacturing base once offered Lu Yan 10 billion yuan to join them. They wanted her to be a master pharmacist, but she refused. She said that a girl who didn't want to be a top mercenary wasn't a girl with dreams. Later, when those people failed to recruit her, they felt humiliated and began to hunt her down. Lu Yan played a cat-and-mouse game with them for half a year. In the end, she ran to their headquarters impatiently and blew them up like a ticking time bomb. From then on, not many people dared to mess with Lu Yan. Because of the professor's relationship, the United States federal government turned a blind eye to this matter and did not thoroughly investigate it. Other than Ian and the other aliens, Lu Yan was the queen of this world. After knocking out the 4 bodyguards with her homemade drugs, Lu Yan asked Xiao Fei to drag them to the hospital warehouse across the street. The 2 of them entered Qin Chu's intensive care unit and locked the door. Lu Yan slowly approached the man on the bed. She had mixed feelings. After all, he was the man her sister loved deeply. He was also Xiao Fei's benefactor who once performed surgery on him in Russia. Brother-in-law's condition makes me sad. Maybe he cares about Sister Mian too much. Lu Yan sat on the chair and turned on the Bluetooth on her watch. She cracked the password and connected to the hospital's database. Then, she easily pulled up Qin Chu's diagnosis data from the hospital's database. After reading it, Lu Yan fell silent. What's wrong? Xiao Fei saw something wrong with her. Psycho Xiao, we're in trouble. Since you're talking about trouble, it seems like it's a difficult thing to deal with, Xiao Fei said. My brother-in-law's condition is manageable. The toxins in his body are hard to remove. He made his own medicine and he's unconscious. No one knows the ingredients. I don't have much talent in medicine, unlike my sister. She inherited my mother's genes, so she's much better than me. But now she's in trouble. Lu Yan analyzed the current situation. So what should we do now? Should we help brother-in-law wake up first, or should we look for sister's whereabouts? Xiao Fei asked. Let brother-in-law wake up first, because his life will be in danger if this drags on. Are you going to take him away? Xiao Fei knew from Lu Yan's tone that there was no cure for Qin Chu in China. Therefore, They guessed that Lu Yan would take Qin Chu away without anyone noticing. No, brother-in-law can't take it anymore. I'll ask my father to come over. Professor. Xiao Fei was surprised. Other than him, I don't think anyone else can cure brother-in-law. Lu Yan said with certainty. But can the professor come out? Xiao Fei had always known the professor's situation, so he was still a little uncertain. Of course, I will find a way. At this time, the doctor and nurse came to check on the ward. He found it strange that he didn't see any bodyguards at the door. When he opened the door of the ward, he found that it was locked from the inside. It was even more strange. Who's inside? Asked the doctor outside. Lu Yan pulled Xiao Fei open the window and jumped down from the building. Then used the rope to leave. When the doctor came in, he found the window was open and there were signs that someone had come in. He was terrified. Immediately, he called Su Yu. When Su Yu picked up the phone, he was having dinner with the twins. What's up? Young Master Su, bad news. A stranger broke into Mr. Qin's room, and your bodyguards are missing. What did you say? Furious, Su Yu stood up with a whoosh. Chapter 2998. Su Yu couldn't sit still when he received a call from the hospital. Pudding, you guys eat first. I'm going out to do something. Su Yu left the house in a hurry after a few bites. After Pudding and the others finished eating, they went back to their room to play. Maybe because they missed their mother, the two kids weren't in the mood to play, just like before. Lady Su gave them a lot of fruits, but they weren't in the mood to eat. Sis, yeah. Pudding turned to look at her. I miss Mommy so much. Pudding didn't say anything. Sis, why hasn't Mommy come back yet? Daddy hasn't called us or come to see us. Pudding, who was in the dark, was a little depressed. As the older sister, Pudding was more sensible and took on more responsibilities. She reached out her chubby little hand and patted her sister's head. Good girl, Mommy, we'll come back. Daddy will find her for sure. But I'm not sure. We've been here for a few days. Daddy hasn't come to pick us up, which means Mommy hasn't been found yet. Hua Xiqian is a big bad guy. He's always thinking about Mommy. Will he take Mommy somewhere far away and not let her come back? Pudding bit her lip as tears welled up in her eyes. No. How can Hua Xiqian be better than Daddy? Don't be silly. We have to believe in him. Okay. I'll go take a shower first. When I come out, I'll have a video call with Gao Buiyuan. Then, Pudding took her nightgown and walked into the bathroom. The Su family's housekeeper had prepared warm water for her. After Pudding went in, the housekeeper followed her in to help her wash up. Pudding stood alone in front of the window and looked into the distance, feeling very bad. Su Yu had been leaving early and coming home late recently, so Pudding didn't know what to ask. Last time at the hospital, Pudding also heard what Professor Luo said. The chances of Daddy waking up were very, very low. If Daddy didn't wake up, no one would go to find Mommy. Su Yu's power alone was next to nothing. It wasn't that she didn't trust Su Yu, but she wasn't sure. The two people who were the closest to each other, the most loved ones, ended up like this. She and Little Bean were fostered by the Su family. Although the Su family treated the sisters very well, the children still felt burdened in their hearts. No matter how good this place was, it wasn't home. Mommy. Daddy, I beg you, please come back quickly. Little Bean and I can't hold on any longer. We really, really miss you guys, Pudding said, choking with sobs. When Su Yu went to the hospital, Lu Yan and Xiao Fei had already left without leaving a trace. Even the unconscious bodyguard couldn't remember what the girl who had drugged him looked like after waking up. When Siyu went to check the surveillance video, he was surprised to find that the video had been erased, and he couldn't find any clues. Have you checked? Is there anything wrong with Chin Chu? Suyu looked at the doctor worriedly. No, young Master Su, don't worry. Mr. Chin's condition is normal. Maybe those people weren't in a hurry to make a move. That's amazing. They were able to infiltrate the military's defense system without anyone noticing. Then, they were able to drug my bodyguard. From the looks of it, they were prepared. We have to be extra careful, the doctor said. Did you find out what drug was used to drug my bodyguard? Suyu also wanted to know who the culprit was. Chapter 2999. Not yet. I just did a preliminary analysis. I've never seen or heard of this kind of composition before. The doctor answered shamefully. Suyu put his hand on his forehead, feeling very troubled. Chin Chu's condition and Huamin's lack of news were already torturous enough. Now, someone was trying to hit on Chin Chu. It was simply, at the Su family mansion after showering, the twins were listening to music and reading in bed. They were very obedient. Little Bean was video chatting with Gao Buiyuan, but she fell asleep in the middle of the conversation. Pudding turned off the video chat. Pudding turned off Little Bean's cell phone and was about to go to the bathroom. She didn't even notice that the window had been opened. Pudding. A very soft voice startled Pudding. Do you still remember me? Lu Yan sat on the windowsill and smiled coolly. Auntie, Pudding's memory was amazing, so she immediately remembered Lu Yan when she saw her. Mommy said she was very close to her auntie. Many of her and her sister's expensive jewelry were bought by her auntie. Good girl, come and hug me. Lu Yan opened her arms, and Pudding rushed over and hugged Lu Yan tightly. Strangely, she spent very little time with Lu Yan. She couldn't compare with Qin Ning, let alone Jiang Xiaowei and Zhu Lingling. However, when she saw Lu Yan, she felt an inexplicable closeness to her as if she had known her for a long time. Auntie. Pudding's voice trembled when she called Lu Yan's name. Lu Yan lifted the child's chin and saw she was crying. Why are you crying? Are you not happy to see me? No, I'm happy to see you. Are you crying tears of joy? Lu Yan chuckled. Auntie, do you know, you have a very special smell. It's very similar to my mommy's, Pudding said slowly. To be honest, Pudding's words hurt Lu Yan's heart. Pudding, I know what happened to your mommy. Auntie came back this time because of this. Auntie, Mommy said, you're very, very good. Really? Did your mommy say that about me? Pudding nodded vigorously. Mommy said that Auntie is very outstanding. You can do anything. Nothing can stop you. Yes, so. Auntie said that she would definitely help you find your mommy and save your daddy. Do you believe her? I do. Pudding nodded happily. Where's Little Bean? Why did she fall asleep so early? Lu Yan jumped off the windowsill with Little Bean in her arms and landed without making a sound. It was obvious that he was skilled. Yeah, she's been in a bad mood for the past 2 days. Maybe she misses mommy and daddy a lot. I've been keeping it from her, so she doesn't know the details. Good job. You're good at taking care of your sister. Lu Yan gave Pudding a thumbs up. Lu Yan walked up to Little Bean, lowered her head, and gently kissed her forehead. My little piggy, looks exactly like your elder sister. 2 little cuties. To be honest, Lu Yan's feelings for Huamin and the twins were deeper than anyone could imagine. The Su family's defense was very strong, but Lu Yen still broke through it. Xiao Fei was waiting outside and didn't come in. Because of her special status, she couldn't talk to Su Yu directly and could only see the kids in private. Pudding, Auntie has good news for you. What good news? Do you want to see your grandpa? Lu Yen asked. Grandpa. Pudding suddenly remembered the old man she saw in the U.S. Mommy told her that he was her grandpa. It was amazing. Didn't this grandma's husband die? Mommy didn't say much, so Pudding didn't dare to ask. Yes. Then let's call him and ask him to come back and save your daddy, okay? Lu Yen pointed at the smart watch on her wrist and looked at Pudding lovingly. Chapter 3000. Okay. Pudding didn't know how capable her grandpa was, but her auntie must have her reasons for saying so. Then, Lu Yen pressed the button on her watch. She heard the beeping sound of a phone call. Pudding was a little nervous. What's up? The professor's image appeared in front of her watch. He was wearing a white lab coat and a mask. Obviously, he was in a lab. Dad, look who this is. Lu Yen pointed the camera at Pudding's small body. The moment the professor saw the little girl, his sharp eyes softened. Is this Pudding or Little Bean? The professor asked lovingly. Pudding, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and greet him. Lu Yen nudged Pudding's arm and reminded her. The little girl called out sweetly, Grandpa. Hey, good. This is Pudding. She looks exactly like Little Bean. The professor had a bunch of photos of the children. He missed his granddaughter so much that he couldn't put into words. Once upon a time, he had always wanted to complete this plan as soon as possible. Then, he would come back early to see Huamian and the children. Grandpa, we're different. Little Bean is fatter than me. Pudding said. Ha ha ha, good. Grandpa will remember this. The fatter one is Little Bean and the thinner one is Pudding. The professor laughed. Dad, this is Little Bean. Then, Lu Yen pointed the camera at Little Bean who was sleeping like a little pig. Oh. She fell asleep. Yeah. Dad, aren't you curious why I came back? Lu Yen suddenly asked. Why did you go back? Ian hasn't dealt with you yet. You should be careful. The professor didn't want Lu Yen to come back. He didn't want Lu Yen to be with her sister because he didn't want to drag Huamin down with her. He didn't want to disrupt their normal lives. Dad, something happened here. My sister was dragged off a cliff and we don't know if she's dead or alive. My sister's husband was so shocked by what happened that he vomited blood and fainted. What did you say? The professor was shocked. Dad, I'm telling you the truth. Time is precious, and to prevent that despicable Ian from tracking my phone signal, I'll make it short. I'm sending Chin Chu's medical record to your email. You'll understand once you read it. Okay. After that, the professor was about to hang up the phone. Lu Yen dragged Pudding to the camera again. Wait, Dad. Pudding has something to say to you. Normal kids would be dumbfounded by Lu Yan's impromptu act. But Pudding wasn't an ordinary child. She was a child prodigy who had inherited the powerful genes of her parents. Pudding looked at the professor with her big watery eyes and said word by word, Grandpa, I beg you, please come back and save Daddy. We can't lose him. If Daddy is alive, he can help us find Mommy. Little Bean and I don't want to become wild children without parents. The professor almost burst into tears when he heard that. Her heart was as sad as it could be, especially when she looked at the innocent eyes of the child. Don't worry, child. Leave it to me. The professor could not stand his granddaughter's pitiful look. Hearing the professor's words, Lu Yen immediately said, "Dad, you agreed? Then you should arrange for him to return as soon as possible. Brother-in-law's condition is very serious. That's all." Then, without giving the professor a chance to speak, Lu Yen hung up the phone. Then, Lu Yen looked at Pudding and smirked. "Not bad, girl. You reacted quickly. Auntie. Grandpa, can you really save Daddy?" Pudding asked seriously. Chapter 3001. Of course. I'm not bragging, but your grandpa's medical skills are unparalleled in the world. There's no one he can't save. Then, Lu Yen added in a low voice, "Except for your grandma." "What did you say, Auntie?" Pudding didn't hear her clearly. "Oh, nothing. I said, since your grandpa promised you, he'll be back soon. With him here, don't worry." "That's great, Auntie." Pudding held Lu Yan's hand excitedly. At this moment, Lady Sue's voice came from outside the door. "Pudding, are you asleep?" "Grandma Sue, what's up?" Pudding immediately replied. "I made you a bowl of pear soup with rock sugar. You've been coughing lately." "Okay. I'll open the door for you right away." Hearing Pudding's words, Lu Yen reached out to touch her face. "Go ahead. I'll leave now." "Auntie, when will you come back?" I'm not sure." "Auntie, can you come and see me often? I'm happy to see you when Mommy isn't here." Pudding held Lu Yan's hand reluctantly. "Okay. I promise I'll come and see you and Little Bean again. Don't tell anyone about what happened today, including Grandpa. Got it?" "Okay. I got it. Good girl. I'll leave now. Close the window." Then Pudding saw Lu Yen jump onto the windowsill and jump down from the building without hesitation. Although it wasn't very high, was it okay for her to do that? It was like a stunt in a movie. If Little Bean saw it, she would think it was Spider-Man. After Lu Yen left, Pudding went to open the door for Lady Sue. After Su Yu finished his treatment at the hospital, he received a call from Gao Ran before he went home. Then he went directly to the Municipal Public Security Bureau. Ever since Qin Chu and his wife's accident, Gao Ran hadn't had a good night's sleep. He had been in charge of the Municipal Public Security Bureau. "Chief, Mr. Su is here." The policeman brought Su Yu to Gao Ran's office. "Lord Su, I heard that something happened at the hospital." Gao Ran asked. "Yeah. Someone snuck into Qin Chu's room and drugged my bodyguard without anyone noticing. So powerful. Who has such great ability?" Gao Ran was also curious. "What's the situation on your side?" Su Yu looked at Gao Ran. "Oh, right. I want to ask you something. Did you torture and kill Hua Min's subordinates because you wanted to interrogate Hua Xiqian about his whereabouts?" "Torture?" Su Yu was a little confused. Gao Ran took out some photos of the victims. They were all bloody and threw them directly on the table. "Look at these." Su Yu picked it up and looked at it. He frowned slightly. "I didn't do this. I don't think it's you either because it's very cruel. They all slit the throat. That is to say, in addition to us, someone else is catching Hua Xiqian's subordinates and has killed 7 people in a row in one day." "When did this happen?" Su Yu was shocked. "It happened tonight. The last victim died less than 5 hours ago. Could it be, it has something to do with the person who snuck into Qin Chu's ward?" Su Yu pondered. Now we don't know the identity of the other party and what their purpose is. It seems that we have to be more careful. Gao Ran said. Gao Ran, can you contact Ching? You're looking for him. Yes. There must be a reason why Qin Chu trusts him so much. I want to see him and ask him about some details. So you didn't want to let go of any information about Huamin. I'll try. After the incident, that kid went into hiding. However, Qin Chu has arranged a place for his child to recuperate, so I should be able to find him. Su Yu nodded and turned to leave. Gao Ran asked behind him, Lord Su, have you thought about what you would do if Huamin really died? Chapter 3002. To be honest, I don't believe Huamin is dead. Then, Su Yu turned around and left. Gao Ran admired Su Yu's obsession with Huamin. It was almost as strong as Qin Chu. Thinking of Qin Chu, who was still in the ICU, Gao Ran felt bad. After leaving the Su family, Lu Yan and Qiao Fei walked back. When they passed by a night market pedestrian street, they directly stopped the supercar at the side. Psycho Qiao, are you hungry? Qiao Fei looked at her, confused. Do you want to have a midnight snack with me? Lu Yan smiled. You're still in the mood for a midnight snack. It seems there's progress. Qiao Fei knew Lu Yan well. Smart. You can't figure out what's going on. Is the professor coming back? Qiao Fei asked slowly. Fuck. Did you eavesdrop on my phone call? Lu Yan was anxious. I'm sorry. I was standing guard upstairs and was thousands of miles away from you. How could I hear your phone call? How did you guess so accurately? I know you well. Qiao Fei looked calm. You're almost as good as the worm in my stomach. You actually guessed it. It's not hard to guess. The only person who can save Qin Chu is the professor. Qiao Fei sighed. It's my fault for not being a good student. I was only interested in explosives. If only I was like my sister and had the talent to save people. Unfortunately, I've only been able to kill people since I was young. I can't save people, okay? Aren't you hungry? Do you want to go? Qiao Fei opened the car door. Qiao Fei and Lu Yan sat at a roadside stall. There were all kinds of Xinjiang meat skewers, fried chicken legs, and grilled squid. Lu Yan had always loved food. Since she was back in China, she ate until she was full before leaving. Paul had prepared an exquisitely decorated mansion for Lu Yan and Qiao Fei. Both of them were exhausted. As soon as Lu Yan came back, she did a lot of big things. He had killed so many of Hua Xiqian's men and kidnapped Yan Ruoxi. None of them were not earth-shattering. Qiao Fei knew that Lu Yan suffered the most when Huamin got into trouble. She always felt guilty that she didn't meticulously arrange more people to come over. Otherwise, her sister wouldn't have encountered such a calamity. Lying on the big, soft bed, Lu Yan still couldn't fall asleep. Sis. I'll find you. I won't give up, Lu Yan said. The next morning Lu Yan got up early and had a quick bite with Qiao Fei before driving out. They sped all the way to the top of Yuewang Mountain. Today, Lu Yan was wearing a navy blue mid-length trench coat with her long hair hanging loose. At the top of the mountain, Lu Yan squatted down to check a few spots. According to those people's testimonies, this is where my sister was killed. I think. Lu Yan said. Yes, but it's really high up here. If Sister Mian falls from this height, her chances of survival are slim, Qiao Fei analyzed. Bah, don't jinx it. I'm not jinxing it. I'm just stating the truth. You have a lot of combat experience. Tell me, am I right? Of course I'll check it myself. I won't believe anyone's words. Lu Yen stood at the edge of the cliff at the top of the mountain and looked down at the churning sea. About 5 seconds later, she leaped into the air. Yen. Xiao Fei's heart almost jumped out of his chest. Lu Yen had jumped off the cliff without warning. Even if he wanted to stop her, it was too late. Xiao Fei watched as Lu Yen jumped down without hesitation. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.